Welcome to The Backlash, a weekly discussion about the past, present, and future of Western civilization. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves, joined as always by Mr. Dave Riley. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We had a rough start over here.
Oh, we're doing great. Great start. We're actually on time today. Look
That's
at
true.
this. We started at 4 o'clock sharp. Isn't that wonderful?
Look at that.
It's great.
How you doing, Cameron?
I'm doing well. Chipper Dave puts a smile on my face.
Aw, gay. You can find us on X at Real Backlash, our website, thebacklash.net. Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Send your super chats that will be read live at the end of our show to thebacklash.net/super chat. Please sub to us on our YouTube channel that is at Real Backlash. Sub to us on Rumble, that is Backlash Podcast. Thank you so much all for joining us today. Thank you, sponsors. We'd like to thank Antelope Hill. We would like to thank Atlas Bullion. And as always, we would like to thank the wonderful Idaho Tallow. Was there an obvious preference there?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, we should mention this up front. Atlas Bullion is doing a flash sale for the next 24 hours. So if you've been thinking about buying gold or silver, you should probably go visit atlasbullion.com/backlash.
Yeah.
Or you can go to our website under affiliates.
Okay.
Silver's making a move, closing
Sure
the gap.
is.
Yeah, it is. What is it, 39?
Is it really?
$39.56 an ounce.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
All right.
All right, so we're doing a show.
We are doing a show.
We're live.
I don't know. Sometimes I get so nervous before the show, and we've added a new segment that's very blonde focused. And it's like bringing me back to my old YouTube days. And you should see the outtakes from some of my old videos. Like I'd be reading my script and then I'd mess up and then I would just berate myself. And so I'd be editing the footage and it would be like, figure it out, bitch. Like, and I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my God. And so now I've prepared a video essay and I'm just bringing myself back to that place of self-abuse.
No, don't do that.
And inferiority.
No
and
negative self-talk here.
I'm just very, very nervous about it. I
Gotta
don't
be
know.
positive. Here, how about you could have some cocaine glasses.
Oh, no, thanks. I'm going to put
okay.
on my problem glasses pretty soon because I have terrible eye fatigue. I know. I'm getting old.
How many hours of screen time do you do a day?
I'm probably at about like, I don't know, considering listening to stuff also.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, if it's just on in the background.
If it's on in the background, I'm at about 9 hours.
And if it's not on, it's like
I
just
spend-
12 hours. It's just all day.
I do a lot of rage tweeting.
Yeah.
And listen, what they don't tell you about parenting is that most of it is just watching your child do other stuff.
Yes.
That is like 80% of parenting.
Yeah. The other 20% is keeping your kids from killing themselves.
Yeah, that is a fact. Yeah. So you prevent them from drowning. You make sure they don't hit the back of their head on that table corner.
Yes.
And then you just watch them wander around the house going bop, 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 bop.
Yes.
It's super boring.
It's great.
Yeah, it is great. It's a gift from God. We really appreciate it.
Every
I
moment.
will kill you, Dave.
Cherish every little moment.
I'm trying to.
Every coup, every
I know.
unhinged scream
I
that
try to
doesn't
do
stop
that.
for hours at a time
I
because
try to
they're
do it.
teething. Mine is teething.
So is mine.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah. Whiskey.
Oh, you really do that?
Yeah, it works.
Is it the Depression era?
Yeah. It worked then, you know? Put some hair on men's chests, put a little whiskey around the gums.
Oh, okay.
You know.
I'm not going to do that.
I'm going to get my kids taken from me by CPS.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm kidding. Don't do that.
Don't
give
do
your
that.
kids
Don't do
alcohol.
that.
That's bad.
Let's check in on the Trump administration. Boy, I wasn't even going to include this, and then we ended up adding like 5 clips because it's somewhat unbelievable what's going on. So the Trump administration is seriously imploding, and they are desperately trying to deflect from the Epstein files, as Cameron has correctly pointed out many times. And I did push back on him a little bit. He was like, this Epstein thing, not going away. Now, I know it's only been a few weeks, but it appears that he is right. So let's pull up this article, this Newsweek article. Pam Bondi announced on Monday that the DOJ has released documents tied to the FBI's investigation into Clinton's use of private emails. What year is it? I'm having a flashback. During her tenure as Secretary of State, the move comes in response to a longstanding request from Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, who has pushed for greater transparency, blah, 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 blah. Bondi praised Grassley's efforts, calling his pursuit of accountability, this is rich, unwavering, and reaffirming the department's commitment to supporting congressional oversight. What a bunch of BS. Let's see what Trump has to say about this. Let's pull up clip 1.
Clip 1. You've got to
Yeah. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Joe.
We talked about this.
I know.
We set the clip up.
Okay, I'll do better.
Then
I'll do better.
we say, and then we go.
Trump turns the tables on.
The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level.
Oh, come on. We're going to talk a little bit about this after we go through these clips. Let's see what Tulsi has to say.
Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, it's Trump always chickens out.
Yeah.
Taco Trump.
I'm glad that I let this happen. I'm glad I did that.
Did what?
No, we voted for him on the basis of lock her up.
Lock her up. I know.
Yeah.
Lock her up, build the wall, deport them all.
Yeah.
And we got none of it.
We got none of it.
Yay. I can't. My Fell For It Again award hasn't come in the mail yet.
Oh, yeah.
But it will.
There's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency. And next week, we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something about it. We have whistleblowers, actually, Maria, coming forward now after we release these documents because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at this time who were so disgusted by what happened.
This is unreal. Now they care about this stuff. Why? Why would they possibly care about this stuff? Is it to deflect from the Epstein issue?
As a matter of fact, I think it may be.
Yeah, really.
I don't think it made it into. I don't think it made it into our outline because it literally was released like 10 minutes before we went on the air. But the Wall Street Journal just put out a brand spanking new article. Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files. Bondi also told the president at the meeting that Justice decided not to release more Jeffrey Epstein documents because of the presence of child pornography and the need to protect victims.
Good Lord. Don't they know we have a podcast and they need to release this at least 30 minutes ahead of our podcast?
Getting news
I walked in the door and Dave was like, did you hear about this Wall Street Journal article? I was like, no. Yeah. I haven't read the news in like 45 minutes. What happened?
Yeah, it's
good grief. Did you read the article?
I haven't. No, I read the headline. All you need is it's headline culture. Okay, this is headline culture. You don't need to actually read it. But I mean, here's the deal. They told him in May.
Yeah.
Okay, they told him in May that he was in the files, named or whatever. Elon Musk came out and said that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Turns out that was true. And now here we are on like week 2 or 3 of Donald Trump attempting to gaslight his supporters into, oh, that Jeffrey Epstein hoax. It was a hoax like Russia. It was just a hoax. And they're doing all of this Obama crap to completely distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. What the fuck?
It's going to be totally ineffective. I think everybody can see right through this. Did you see this dumbass tweet that he put out with the AI?
No, let's take a look. Let's pull this bad boy up. What are we seeing here?
It has part of the Hunter Biden interview too, so I wonder if maybe we should just watch it through because that was just...
Under fire, Donald Trump has turned to trolling Barack Obama with a bizarre AI video as he tries to distract from the Epstein files firestorm. Here's US correspondent Miley Hogan.
US President Donald Trump has shared a fake video of former
Okay,
US
it's
President
obviously
Barack
AI.
Obama being arrested. The video appears to be manipulated footage of an Oval Office meeting that took place in November 2016 between Obama, then the president, and Mr. Trump, who had days earlier won the election. The digitally altered video shows FBI agents bursting into the meeting, pushing Obama to the ground, then putting him in handcuffs.
Where's the black bag?
The fake video then shows Obama in an orange jumpsuit pacing in a cell. The video follows allegations from Trump administration officials that Obama and members of his team manufactured intelligence that Russia interfered in the 2016 presidential election. Democrats have labelled it a politically motivated move at a time where the president seeks to redirect the conversation from the Epstein files.
What are they hiding from the American people?
Oh, shut up.
Release the files.
While exactly 1 year since Joe Biden dropped out of the 2024 race, his son is making headlines, offering a new theory about why his dad struggled during that disastrous debate, saying his father was taking a prescription-only sleeping pill called Ambien.
He's 81 years old. He's tired as They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
He also had this to say about George Clooney after he called on then President Joe Biden to step down.
Bro.
You, what do you have to do with anything? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country?
George Clooney has not responded to those comments, and Joe Biden's office has also decided to stay silent about Hunter's sit-down interview.
All right, I am officially endorsing Hunter Biden for president 2028. Let's go!
Good grief. Well,
Oh my gosh. Actually, I've got another clip while we're like kind of derailed going schizo mode here. This is my shadow outline.
Why?
This is my shadow
Why does this
outline.
exist?
Let's see. Where is it? Trump polling? No. JD Vance.
I do. There is something about Hunter that I find
Here it is.
somewhat charismatic.
Here it is.
Reluctantly.
This is 100%. This is going to be my president. Okay.
Does crack cocaine make you act any differently? No. Is it safer than alcohol? Probably. People think of crack as being dirty. It's the exact opposite. When you make crack, what you're doing is you're burning off all the impurities so that it combines with the sodium bicarbonate, which makes it smokable. That's all.
Why did he do this interview?
That's my boy.
Why? Why did he do this? I never understand when people do interviews like this. It's like you could have just taken your millions and millions of dollars and shut up. And instead you're doing an interview about why crack is clean. What are you even doing here?
We need to what's the word? Legalize crack. Legalize crack. No, I'm
You heard
kidding.
it here on
I'm
the
obviously
Backlash.
kidding. Don't do drugs, kids. Drugs
It's bad for you.
mess you up.
Trump, I think this is going to be a totally ineffective pivot. There's no way this is going to work. Nobody cares about Russiagate anymore. Nobody cares about justice for these things. He should have ridden the momentum to do something at the time. And this is just a reminder to his constituency that he failed at all of the stuff that he promised us, that he ran on. Cameron, what do you think?
You know, it struck me listening to the president in the White House. The first thing he said is that he could have prosecuted Hillary Clinton, but he didn't, and that was the right thing to do. Right off the bat, I don't agree with that. I think he should have prosecuted Hillary Clinton. I think he should have fired James Comey as the director of the FBI right away. And those are things that told me very early on in his first tenure as president that this is sort of business as usual, that Donald Trump was not, he was all bark and no bite. So just glibly, I think that's the first takeaway that I have. It also, to some degree, demonstrates what we've seen from Trump. This is a man that has made mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're all flawed, but not Donald Trump. Donald Trump, according to himself, of course, never makes a mistake. He's never wrong about anything. And looking back, he simply reaffirms everything he does. Again, very dangerous traits in somebody that has executive authority. Look, I think the point here is your point, Rebecca. This is not going to work. This redirection, this pivot, whatever you want to call it, Harry Houdini, I think, said an old trick well done is far better than a new trick with no effect. Well, Donald Trump is a man who uses the same trick over and over again. At this point, he's just a victim politician like everybody else. And he has perfected that tactic for a long time. I mean, basically since running in 2015, and now he looks more and more, does he not, like a stereotypical politician? I mean, he has completely lost that veneer of authenticity, of being an outsider, of being a truth teller, of being sort of one man against the deep state. Now he is the deep state. At least that's the way it looks. So just a couple of things I would note is one is that Donald Trump now, I would say less than 180 days into his administration, maybe around the 90-day mark, he has lost any proactive momentum forward. He's reacting to everything around him. That's usually dangerous for administrations, especially for presidents. Now he is in full reactivity mode. He's reacting to what's happening in the Middle East. He's reacting to what's happening in Ukraine. And now he's got a domestic crisis that he's got to deal with. And everything he does is transparently reactive. That makes him look worse, not better. And finally, it's just no longer just about MAGA. So some of the outlets that I saw covering the story, they're left-leaning outlets. And if you go back a week or so, the left was sort of perplexed as to why anybody cared about Epstein, probably because the left collectively, they know that all of their politicians and so forth are implicated as well. But that doesn't matter anymore because Donald Trump is now vulnerable. So now the left is going to start amping up the pressure as well. So I think this president has very few friends, and he's sort of on an island surrounded by enemies now, and you're starting to see the ship tip into the water. Final point on this I would make is I was talking to a friend of mine recently who spent a lot of time in DC. He's lived there a long time. I think he's in his 60s. And he said this is beginning, the Epstein fiasco with Trump is beginning to look a lot like Watergate. And I do think it sort of reeks of that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
does.
totally agree.
Now there is an angle, and I'm debating asking him to come on maybe in August, but on Arthur Bloom's Substack while we're talking about RussiaGate, just because I mean I think we're probably going to get into this a little bit with the Charlie Kirk Tucker Carlson thing, because they've been resurrecting this RussiaGate thing as a distraction. But what nobody's going to tell you, and it sucks because like the Epstein Tucker Carlson interview with Daryl Cooper, really good. Definitely worth listening to. It's like 3 hours worth listening to. They nail it. But the Charlie Kirk one, total BS.
Yeah. Oh,
and somebody that y'all should be following on Substack is Arthur Bloom, former vice editor of the Daily Caller, used to work for the Catholic News Agency or National Catholic Register, I can't remember. But this article, Angles of La Grande Conspiration for Tulsi Gabbard and the DOJ to Follow. Why was this stuff left out of the first go-around? First of all, a claim, every bit of the RussiaGate hoax was actually true of the Clintons, which is interesting. There are 5 12-inch audio reels demonstrating that Bill Clinton, as a Rhodes Scholar, attempted to join the Communist Party while visiting Prague and Moscow. That's interesting. And also, the most interesting thing, the egg of RussiaGate was laid in Fusion GPS by Paul Singer in a strategy not unlike hedge fund investing. The Israelis, his money is used by preferred Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio to be president. And if that didn't work, they'd have preferred Hillary. That Trump hasn't gone here yet is evidence of his own capture. And this whole Paul Singer element of RussiaGate, you know, the Brighton Beach Israeli Russian Jews that were involved in this whole thing has been completely covered up.
Right.
And so I feel like it might be worthwhile at some point in the future to kind of disentangle what RussiaGate really was, because it wasn't Putin, it wasn't KGB, FSB, it was the Russian Jewish mafia that was functioning in the United States. So anyway, figured that had to be said. Put that out there.
Yeah, but I think
Little
what's
something to chew
interesting
on.
about the Epstein development is now they're playing defense, right? Because Epstein represents some kind of untoward relationship between the United States and Israel and probably beyond that. And so you're seeing, more coverage to some degree, but there's also fits and starts on the story because the Trump Epstein thing, that could blow up AIPAC. So I think this is going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds. It is possible that we could see to some degree a cross-partisan unification on this issue, people on the left and people on the right sort of smashing their way at Trump, because both sides are seeing the influence of Zionism here and they want to press where it hurts. So we'll see what kind of defense they come up with. But if the best he's got is an AI video of Obama, that's not going to work.
No, indeed. And I think people are not falling for it anymore. So a few months ago, it might have been towards the beginning of the show, we had like a little bit of knowledge on this story of traditional Catholics, especially in North Idaho, being watched, being infiltrated. And there were some sketch people at church. I'm not going to lie. But this week, this incredible report came out. I wondered if you would talk about this a little bit. I mean, the government can't seem to find the ability or the willpower to enact justice when they have the opportunity, but they sure can spend a lot of time and resources spying on us now, can't they?
Oh, yes, they can. So what Blonde is talking about here is this new House Judiciary Committee report that was just published yesterday morning. I got a copy on my desk at about, 9 a.m. yesterday, printed it off, read through it, and it is shocking, actually. I mean, I'm sure a lot of our listeners heard about this when it was first made public, I think in 2024. Kyle Seraphin, FBI whistleblower, went out. They had, committee hearings on all of this, talking about how the FBI was targeting a priest in Richmond, Virginia. And of course, they brought the FBI out on the stand, Comey and all these different representatives denying, we didn't do anything. We didn't investigate Catholics. We didn't investigate a priest. We didn't do any of this stuff. Like, what are you talking about? This is all just, bullshit. Well, as it turns out, in this new, let me see if I can do this. Yeah, in this new committee report, every bit of it was true, and it's even much worse than that. Here are some of the key points. In its investigation, the FBI attempted to violate the priest penitent privilege.
Good Lord.
On the faulty reasoning that the Richmond subject under investigation seeking spiritual guidance had not yet been baptized or completed catechism. Okay, that's messed up. Contrary, bullet point 2, contrary to the assertions that the Richmond memorandum was an isolated incident, internal FBI documents use derogatory terms like, quote, radical traditionalist Catholic or radical traditionalist Catholics between 2009 and 2023. An FBI internal database contained at least 13 documents, including the Richmond memorandum, that used these terms, all of which cited the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Ah, look at that.
Yep.
Point 3, the Richmond memorandum relied on radical open source material, including but not limited to information from the SPLC, as support of the FBI's focus on radical traditionalist Catholics as racially motivated violent extremists.
That's insane.
This is absolutely insane. Now, I think there's a couple of other points here that I highlighted that are worth noting. There I am. So this is from the deposition, right? As far as you know, did the FBI ever take investigative steps whatsoever based on the domain perspective that we've discussed here today? No. Was that ever the intent? No. Does the FBI target Catholics? No. However, new documents show that the FBI special agent in charge, Meter, may have misled the committee and the public about the extent of the Richmond field office's involvement in investigating American Catholics.
You mean outright lied?
Yes, and it was under oath as well. Documents do show that the FBI opened a separate investigation into the same priest who FBI agents in Richmond had interviewed for the memorandum in order to obtain information about these clergy members and their church's organization in the FBI's Richmond field office, coordinated with the FBI's counterterrorism division at headquarters, the FBI Louisville field office, and the FBI's London office in England. This information reveals that the FBI investigation into Catholic Americans was more widespread than initially expected, even extending overseas to international law enforcement partners. Now, this is something that happens, and they've been doing this ever since the Five Eyes were set up, basically. Like, the FBI is domestic, CIA is international, right? So the CIA is supposedly not running any operations in America, and the FBI is supposedly not running any operations internationally. So what happens is FBI gets in touch with England, with the Metropolitan Police Department and their counterterrorism unit.
And then they work on their behalf.
And then England surveils Americans, which is not illegal, right? And then they pass that intelligence back to the FBI to be used in their investigation.
That is so gross.
And it's not only that, it's like, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of like religious liberty in the world, but the idea, that our rights to exercise religion freely were so grossly abused in this whole scenario. And so, you know, going on a little bit, you know, there's all kinds of internal emails back and forth that are in this. They even, let's see what we got here. The FBI, under the leadership of Director Wray, relied on articles that depicted Catholics as white nationalists. Well, maybe a little bit. So these are some of the article titles that were used. The Catholic Church has a visible white power faction. Catholics are leaders and even the founders of the most dangerous neo-Nazi groups in existence. Holy. How extremist gun culture is trying to co-opt the rosary. White nationalists get religion. On the far-right fringe, Catholics and racists forge a movement.
Did they run these through Grok?
And traditional Catholics and white nationalist gropers forging new far-right youth
Did
movement.
they say gropers?
Gropers. They misspelled. Here it is. Gropers.
Oh, geez.
But you know what is really interesting about this, and let me show you. There's some of these headlines that are here. I had it all printed off at one point. Let me scroll to the end. They also made a little PowerPoint presentation.
Ugh, they're so lame.
Look at this. It's like, do you think my PowerPoint's good, guys? You know, radical traditionalist, and so this is what they use to classify you as a radical traditionalist Catholic, right? Belief that mainline Catholicism is, quote, illegitimate. Hardline positions on abortion, LGBTQ matters, or interreligious dialogue.
This should be all Catholics.
Eschatological and apocalyptic overtones.
Also, pretty much all Christians.
Rigid fundamentalism and integralism, and an undertone of anti-Semitism.
Sounds based.
Also, core concepts, traditional Latin Mass practices, conservative family values and roles, rejection of modernity, discontinuity and disruption, and this is the big one, a tendency towards isolationism.
Okay, isolationism doesn't mean that you form a community.
No. This is talking about whether or not we should have gone to Iraq.
Oh, I thought you meant like the Catholic communities.
No.
Oh, okay.
Isolationism in this sense is about the United States participating in foreign
Retarded.
wars.
That's just
so
unreal.
they're like, oh, you're anti-war, you're an isolationist, you're an America First guy, you believe in traditional family values, and you're against LGBT. Congratulations, you are now a radical traditional Catholic, and we've got you tagged on the FBI's counterterrorism database. And so, you know, it is really interesting. Just how, I mean, this is so fucking extensive. All of these files, this is all the evidence that they use.
I'm not really surprised, though. When we got word of this, we knew that it went deeper. How extremist gun culture is trying to co-opt the rosary.
And you've got other articles, right? Deus Vult.
Crusader memes.
The idea of the church militant, which is like an age-old thing. They work to integrate ultra-conservative Catholicism with other aspects of online far-right culture, modern radical traditionalist Catholic movement, blah, 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 which rejects the Second Vatican Council's reforms, blah, blah, blah. And so basically they're just talking about me. Did you
command F for your name in this?
I did. And I was actually surprised to find that I wasn't there.
Oh.
But the priest that was investigated, I was in seminary with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
Good guy. But, you know, this is... I don't know. I shouldn't be talking about Catholicism. I know that the audience doesn't like it when I talk about the Catholic
This is
Church.
important, though. I mean, they aren't infiltrating all religious groups like this.
Perfect. Thank you. They are not infiltrating every religious group like this. They are not producing 18 internal documents on every religious denomination.
Yeah, they're not doing this to Southern
Baptists. Working together with the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center. By the way, who runs the Southern Poverty Law Center? Pretty sure it's a Jewish guy.
No.
Oh, yeah. So what they are afraid of, what the establishment, the government, whatever you want to call it, the Jewish power structure is afraid of is Catholics that are aware of their ethnic background and their ethnic heritage, that don't want to see themselves erased or replaced, that have a common religion, a common ethnicity, common spirituality, working together to resist modernity, right? They are fucking afraid of that.
Yeah,
and
of course.
they are afraid of, like, what after Charlottesville. I mean, I kind of went on a crusade. I was working with E. Michael Jones, and the whole point is like, hey, you're a white guy. You feel deracinated. You feel unrooted from the world. You feel like you have this desire to go back to what your forefathers were doing. Well, guess what? 9 times out of 10, your forefathers were probably Catholic, because after the Second Vatican Council, everybody left the church. Vocations went down, the nuns went away, the schools started to close, the church got infested with homosexuals, they started abusing people, and then the ADL weaponized that whole scandal in the wake of 9/11, when people started to become more religious again, and they attacked the church, and they've been attempting to discredit this. And so I think that, you know, this is it. They wouldn't be attacking it if it weren't a threat to their power.
Well, of
so
course
I guess
not.
the pitch is, you might not like it, you might not be into it, but think about it, because the Jews really don't like when white people convert to Catholicism and take it
They really don't. I mean, that's why they're paying special attention to traditional Catholic communities.
Yes.
Although I'm pretty sure St. Thomas was being monitored in their Novus Ordo. So.
Oh, well, that's just it. I mean, like, I remember my parents called me. My parents called me one week, like a year and a half ago, and they said, "David," and I'm like, "Yes." Why does my mother sound like a Jew? David, there was an FBI agent at our church today, and I was like, "What?" And the FBI had sent someone to their church.
Bizarre.
And I know I've got a friend at our church here that is a former LAPD homicide detective, and he's told me that they have deep embeds counterintelligence in our church.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course,
And
your
it's
church,
like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
If anything,
distressing.
this is going to be appealing to the white nationalist that is confused about religion, but is looking for spirituality and wants to go to a base church. So I actually think this gives you guys some street cred.
I think it does. I think it does. And there are. I don't have it all. I don't have it all properly highlighted or whatever. You can go. I posted a link to the full article or this full committee report on my Twitter. But you can go and you can see that the traditional Catholics. Excuse me. Here, let me pull it up so I can show you. This is the tweet. If you want to go read the committee report, I've got the link down here. But there has been a concerted effort, at least on my part, to try to evangelize white nationalists and bring them into the church.
Right.
Because I think everybody needs Jesus.
Yes. Yeah.
And they don't like it.
Of course not.
So I'm just saying it's.
And even for irreligious people, this should be of serious concern because it just shows the great lengths that the SPLC, the ADL, the federal government will go to infiltrate communities that they deem as radical or traditional white nationalists.
Because we're sticks in the mud. Sorry to step on you, but it's like we're sticks in the mud. We will not change. I will give my life for the faith. I will not compromise in any way.
And that's what makes you
and that's what makes us
that's what makes you dangerous, right? I think that people are furious, and it's not just government corruption. It's not just surveillance. It's the convergence of these issues and other issues. Cameron talks about the financial issues that are imminent, that are ongoing. It's a failure of those in leadership positions in media and academia. We're going to get to this in a second, to address the real issues. And even worse, there's this Orwellian effort, and I think we talked about this in a Tucker Carlson clip. We clipped it out, and we were both like, "Yeah,"
yes,
because he was saying something about how it's not Jews.
It was
Israel.
With Tucker or with Ted Cruz.
It was with Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Right. So there's this effort to conflate Zionism with Christianity and with other factions and other identities. And this is so insidious. This is such a problem. So Cameron sent this link, and I think that it just sums up exactly how people are trying to do this. And this has really taken off in the right wing, this idea that Zionists are not Jewish. This is Ken McCarthy. I'm not familiar with him, though.
Cameron? Who's this guy?
Yeah, who is this guy?
I'm not familiar with
Okay, so some guy.
Is this some guy?
Let's watch it. Some guy talking about Zionism.
And I think we always need to say this, even though it's probably obvious to all the listeners. Zionists are not Jewish, okay? Zionists are Zionists. They are a member. They are a member of a political ideology, right? So you can be a Jewish Zionist, you can be a Christian Zionist, you can be an atheist Zionist, and this is very important. And hardly anybody knows this. In the 1930s, you could be a fascist Zionist.
Good Lord.
In fact, many Zionists were proud to call themselves fascist. That's now out of style, obviously. But there was a great deal of friendship between fascist Italy and the Zionist ideologues. Why? Because the Zionists looked at how the Italians dealt with the Ethiopians, bombing them, starving them, setting up concentration camps, and said, we like the way you guys deal. Maybe we can do business together. Mussolini and the Zionists were allies. He actually admitted over 100 Zionists to the Naval Academy of Italy. So this is something hardly anybody knows.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they were really sympathetic with the Jewish cause.
Well, okay. There's a kernel of truth in this, but it's not the way that he's presenting it. So first of all, Zionism is a Jewish movement.
Of course.
It was founded by Jews, Theodor Herzl, and it is primarily for Jews to live in their religious homeland so that they can practice their religion more fully, because it is a mitzvah to go to the land of Israel, right? Okay, so the idea that Zionism isn't Jewish is false. Zionism was started by Jews, obviously. Now, there is like a very large contingent of Christian Zionists, but that's a psyop. That is a Jewish psyop.
Right.
That is like, I posted something on Twitter the other day.
Even if it's not a psyop, the people that are allying with the Jewish state are our enemy. So
yes.
I'm not sure really that this distinction means much. We're going to hear from Cameron in a moment.
Let me see. Oh, hold on a second. Where is it? I'm going to get it.
Do you want Cameron to get in there?
No, here it is. What kind of church is this? I said, that's not a church. That's an Israeli military outpost.
Yeah, of course.
Hello.
And we see that at Candlelight. We see it all around town.
Now, there is stuff, let me see here, that people may not know about. Havara Agreement. Blonde, I'm sure you know about this. But there was a partnership struck in the Havara Agreement, which was signed on the 25th of August, 1933, between Nazi Germany and the Zionist movement to help move Jews out of Germany into Palestine, which, by the way, that was the final solution.
Yeah, he was just trying to get rid of the Jews.
He was trying to get them out of the country by immigration.
Right.
That obviously went from 1933 to 1939. There were also agreements that were attempted to be struck from the Stern Gang Nazi Alliance. Let's see if this pops up. Yes.
I'm not sure that this having any truth in the matter really matters.
Yeah, probably not. Anyway, let's see here. The Stern Gang's Nazi Gambit, Extremism Alliance attempts with Hitler and their legacy in modern Zionism. The Stern Gang, or Lehi, was one of the most controversial Zionist paramilitary groups during the British Mandate of Palestine, formed in 1940. Lehi pursued an uncompromising agenda of Jewish statehood through violent extremism and rejected any cooperation with British forces. The group's founder, Avram Stern, famously attempted to forge an alliance with Nazi Germany, believing that partnership with Hitler could help expel British and pave the way for a Jewish state in Palestine.
Good Lord.
So, I mean, it's true that the Jews allied themselves with fascists and Nazis, absolutely, because at the time, you'll remember that that op-ed written by Winston Churchill, Zionism or Bolshevism, the battle for the soul of the Jewish people, right? And so all of the nationalists were much more sympathetic to Zionists and wanted to help them so that they could get the fuck out of their country. Hello. Anyway, sorry, I'm done ranting. I'm done.
Cameron, do you want to talk a little bit more about the origin of this conflation between Zionism and other movements and how it's manifesting in the media in particular?
Not really, because I think Dave did a good job. But look, I think this is a much bigger issue than people understand at the moment. You know, people tend to want to belabor the past, and certainly I understand that. But something very interesting is happening in this delineation between Zionism and Jewishness. So I remember 20 years ago when the global war on terror got started, we had these people called neoconservatives.
Uh-huh.
What is a neocon, right? And people who were discerning, people that knew intellectually or otherwise their origin story, they would start with Irving Kristol. They would start with people like Leo Strauss and the Straussians. And periodically you would see Bill Kristol, who's Irving Kristol's son and editor of the Weekly Standard, and somebody that Tucker Carlson once worked with way back when. But you would hear people, I would say, every now and again, that would say, "Hey, aren't you the son of Irving Kristol? And wasn't Irving Kristol a Bolshevik during the Soviet Revolution in Russia?" These kinds of things. But there was a strict adherence to this word neocon because you did not want to cross the Rubicon and say, "Well, you just mean Jews, right? You just mean Zionists, basically." People, yeah, they may call themselves whatever they want, but it's a group of people that are overwhelmingly Jewish. And then there may be a few non-Jews in the group who they sort of use to legitimize their movement as beyond just Jewish. But fundamentally speaking, neoconservatism was a misdirect, right? It was a misdirection designed to conceal what this group was all about. And basically, these were all Likudite Zionist Jews, right, that had tremendous influence over the U.S. government, so forth and so on. These are people like Paul Wolfowitz and Doug Feit and Scooter Libby. I mean, the list, Richard Pearl, the list goes on and on. But at that time, it was simply impossible to dispense with that term neoconservative, even though it didn't mean anything. It was a completely vacuous term, but it was effective because of the misdirection and because it concealed who these people were today. Well, what's interesting is that over the last couple of years, and I think this is a direct consequence of Gaza and murdering all these people. And of course, we've seen the gradual expansion of Israeli wars across the region with horrific consequences. Never mind destroying countries like Syria, but actually killing women and children in a very brutal and undeniable fashion. We've started to hear this word Zionism used a lot. It's quite amazing because I think 10 years ago, you couldn't say that word without irking some people. Well, now it's come into popular usage. However, the new line has been shifted to Jewish. So people are very keen, it seems, on delineating between Zionism and Jewishness, as that gentleman in the video did just a moment ago. And I suppose the point is that I don't think that's going to hold up.
Nope.
And increasingly, people are raising questions about exactly who the Zionists are and what interests they really represent. And there's one other key issue that I think is a part of this. This whole concept of dual citizenship, which I think has been devastating to the United States, that is a distinctly Jewish Israeli invention as well. And that goes back, I know Dave knows as well, to a court case in 1967, which actually allowed an Israeli, I believe he was an American citizen, to vote in an Israeli election. Now, that court case basically opened the floodgates to what we call dual citizenship because it ruled that you could be a citizen of any other country you wanted unless you revoked it. So previously, prior to that, for most of American history, if you declared allegiance to another country, you revoked your allegiance to the United States. You lost your citizenship and you gained another. Well, that changed in 1967. It changed because of Jewish influence in this country. I say all of that to say this: Zionism and Jewishness, as Dave said, they're inextricably linked. There is no daylight between the two. But now that we can use Zionism, they're trying to sort of create a perimeter around the word Jewishness. And I don't think that's going to work. And that's going to raise a lot of questions about dual loyalty. And that, I think, is crucial because that's the next step that MAGA needs to go, right? That's the direction we have to go in, is who is an American and who is not an American. And we need to start with those who are dual Israeli American citizens.
That's absolutely true. And then blurring the line between who is and is not an American through multicultural efforts done by Jews was really the first step. I mean, this parameter around Zionism and Judaism, trying to keep them separated, this is really like a last-ditch effort to try to contain a situation that is absolutely imploding.
And it's been like very clear. I think Sam Parker has actually done a couple of really good threads on this about how the anti-Zionist movement has been managed by people like George Soros, a Jew, to kind of keep it playing in its nice, neat little sandbox of, we aren't anti-Semitic, we're just anti-Zionist. Well, okay, cool. Well, if that's the case, then it wasn't Zionists that Titus destroyed in 70. It wasn't Zionists that got kicked out of England in the 1100s. It wasn't Zionists that got kicked out of Spain in 1492. It wasn't Zionists that, Second World War. You know what I mean? Like, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit in that one.
Well, the other thing that's important here is I think to some degree they've ensnared themselves in their own trap because, a quote that I often use to talk about this is the Susan Sontag quote, where she says the white race is the cancer of human history. Well, when she used that term white race, she didn't delineate. She didn't discriminate, did she? She didn't say British white people or American white people or Confederate or Southern white people. No, there was no delineation. It was categorical. If you're white, you're bad. You're the problem. Well, it's going to be very difficult then to parse out the difference between an Israeli and a Jew when they are inextricably linked, more so than the other case. So I think, again, to some degree, they've caught themselves by virtue of the way they parameterize the debate.
Totally.
Oh, yeah. No. And it's, I was going to say, I was going to bring this up. You were just looking at it. This is Matthew 6:24. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will sustain the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. So biblically speaking, you'd be on very good foundation if you were going to delineate this. I have a friend actually in the Montana legislature that attempted to pass some legislation about this whole dual citizen thing. Yeah, didn't go over. Went over like a lead balloon. But
I am very reassured that there is this backlash against this in not just the dissident right, but in the media. I mean, of course, not neocons. But did you see this clip from Nick Fuentes this week? I thought this really summed it up. There's an obvious revolt that's happening in real time against Judaism, not Zionism, against Judaism, and people aren't really following it. And the political landscape has changed so drastically over the last few years that for early adopters, it's kind of unbelievable to watch this. Let's watch to 129.
I said this on Twitter. They interviewed Netanyahu and their first thought, how do we do damage control? How do we show people we haven't sold out to Israel? Get on Nick Fuentes. So it's like, that's the dialectic. And I have to say, on that subject, isn't it a little bit refreshing?
Yes.
In their defense, isn't it a little bit refreshing how far things have come? 3 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, if you had hosted Kyrie Irving, if you hosted the artist formerly known as Kanye West, yay. If you hosted David Duke, someone like that, you would get canceled.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody on social media would be outraged. And to do damage control, you would be apologizing to the ADL. You would be going to the Holocaust Museum and writing a book report about anti-Semitism. But in 2025, you do an interview with Netanyahu, and you're apologizing to the Groypers. You're apologizing to Nick Fuentes. You're bringing on Myron Gaines and explaining yourself. Here's why what we did wasn't wrong. We didn't know. We should have had someone on to push back. We should have had on an anti-Semite to push back on the claims of the bloodthirsty satanic leader of Israel. Isn't it a trip how we're through the looking glass? 3 years ago.
You can rep. Look how jubilant he is. He's just exuding.
Bro, look at his face.
He's just exuding pure joy because it is very strange. I remember we were starting to say things in 2017, 2018. We were kind of dipping our toe in. I remember thinking there is no way this is ever going to become part of mainstream discourse. I know Nick Fuentes maybe not be the best example of this, but I have seen him on CNN this week.
Oh, yeah.
So he's really entering the mainstream, and the left and right alliance with Palestine, well, dissident, right?
Yeah,
has created a new dialogue surrounding this that has opened everything up, and I kind of can't believe what I'm seeing.
Hold on,
is this him on Fuentes?
All right, so the people who are saying this aren't people who were on the fence about Trump. These are the people who vaulted Trump back to the White House, like Nick Fuentes, the white nationalist whom Trump has hosted at Mar-a-Lago.
And now he says, if you're not on board with the Epstein cover-up, oh, I don't want your support. You're a weakling. You suck. You are fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. We are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history.
So true.
I know. That makes me want to stand up and cheer. It really does.
Yeah, but I think there's a couple things that we need to say about it that he did not say, and I'm frankly not all that surprised. But this is a lot more heartrending than I think perhaps even he understands. Why are we here? Why are minds opening? To some degree, this is what I try to tell people all the time: is you've got to let the process unfold, right? People do figure things out, but there have to be consequences, right? Reality has to assert itself in an unambiguous and visceral fashion. How does that happen? Why are there tens of thousands? And I think it's probably hundreds of thousands at this point. Frankly, we don't know how bad the situation is. But what are hundreds of thousands of Arabs dying for in Gaza and the West Bank? What are all these Christians who are being targeted in Syria? What are they dying for? What about the million plus, I've heard more, Ukrainians who are dead in Ukraine? What are these people dying for? Well, it seems, ladies and gentlemen, that they are dying so that the world can wake up to the danger of Zionism. And we are waking up because we're seeing the horrifying consequences of Western governments that are so hopelessly corrupt, subservient, and dominated by international Jewry and Zionism that we are now on the cusp of another major war. That's why the population is waking up. And that tells you that as things get worse, as we see another purported savior, Donald Trump, a man who is so ensnared in this corruption one way or the other that he prevailed upon his own Justice Department to bury the lead. We see him go down, and we see the MAGA movement implode because it sold its soul in a Faustian bargain with Zionism. That's what's waking people up. That, of course, in conjunction with all the people like Fuentes and yourself, Rebecca, and Dave and others online who've been talking about this for 10 years. Your part in this is important. I think it's decisive, to be sure. But let's not forget the human cost involved in red-pilling the world to the Jewish problem, because that's what it has taken. One wonders, what more is it going to take to get white America to wake up?
Right, and that's a frightening prospect, because when you look at some of those pictures that Dave just showed, how can a human being look at that and not feel anger towards the people that caused it? And then just a little bit of true historical knowledge will absolutely throw you over the edge. I'm sure you guys have noticed, but have you ever talked to somebody? This happened a lot in 2017. You would, touch base with them. They'd be a neocon, hate to use that term. You'd talk to them, you'd lose touch, you'd touch back 6 months later, and they are full JQ, splattered against the wall. It's all they're talking about. And that seems to be the trajectory for anybody that knows anything about Jews and the Jewish state and the Talmud. They just can't believe it. And then they become very bitter and resentful that they've been lied to their entire lives. Yeah. And that becomes a motivation to tell everybody that they know about it. I see you have Father Coughlin up here.
Yeah, let me see. I think this is the right clip. Father Coughlin clips are kind of difficult to come by these days, but
it's Coughlin?
Coughlin.
Oh, I've been saying this incorrectly.
Coughlin?
I've been calling him Coughlin.
It might be Coughlin. I thought it was Father Coughlin.
You would know.
Anyway, the point is,
I think Dave's right. I think it's Coughlin.
Coughlin. But I had a phone call with a friend last night, and he was asking us to maybe do a deep dive episode into Father Coughlin, and a lot of our audience may not even know who this guy is. He had a weekly radio listenership of 30 million people. At his peak, Rush Limbaugh only had about 15 million radio listeners.
Was this in the 30s?
And this is back when America was only like 150 million people. So by proportion, Coughlin was far and away the most popular radio host of American history. And he just disappeared. They regulated him out of existence with something called the Fairness Doctrine. But I mean, this is how things were in 1938, 39. Let's take a listen.
Justice. We are Christian insofar as we believe in Christ's principle of love your neighbor as yourself, and with that principle, I challenge every Jew in this nation to tell me that he does not believe in it.
Look at this. Look at they're jumping up and down. So anyway, you know, just when, and it hits so different, you know, this idea of, oh, well, you know, love your neighbor as yourself. And then you come back to, let me pull these up again. You come back to these pictures of what is happening in Gaza today. These are the Jews' neighbors. These are the neighbors' children that are being starved to death by the Jews, the Jewish Zionists in Israel. Look at that kid's face. That could be your kid. That could be your kid.
It's just
and they will sit there at their pulpits in their synagogues saying, well, Hamas is doing that. No, I'm sorry. Hamas didn't start a blockade on their border. Hamas is not preventing food, water, and fuel from being shipped in. I heard recently that flour is going for the equivalent of $4,000 a bag.
Unreal.
For a bag of flour. And if you're trying to like wire money over there, it'll cost you $5,000. It's just inhumane. And don't get me started. I'm going to get hot.
There's a non-linearity that's involved in the emotional awareness or the reaction machine, if you will, in your mind, right? As Rebecca mentioned a moment ago, you'll deal with people for long periods of time who are normies, right? They're plugged into the matrix. And then all of a sudden you meet them and something snaps, something clicks, and they're sort of farther ahead than you are. What is that? Well, I've characterized it as a continuum. You sort of begin as a moderate, and I think it's understandable, right? Because you're trying to rationalize your way through a problem that you probably don't understand. So you have a more moderating approach. Then you become conservative, right? So you think there needs to be corrective reform. From conservatism, you swing into populism, which is where I think this country has been for a long time. I made a video about this on my channel. And populism is more emotional, but it's still not quite extreme. Now, then you become sort of radical. But the key is that while it takes a long time to get from, call it moderate to populist, it just doesn't take all that long to get from populism to radicalism to fundamental reform. Mm-hmm. That starts to accelerate very, very quickly. And so I think the powers that be, Zionist powers that be, they're beginning to experience this feedback loop. And as I've said before, there's not much they can do about it. They can't put the genie back in the bottle. And so what they're doing is they're trying to leverage censorship and they're expanding the war. Usually powers that do that are losing. And that's the case that I've made since we started this podcast. And it's the case I'm making now is that we're actually prevailing in this fight and Trump needs to go down in order for us to move ahead, in order for us to psychologically process the reality that the democratic system that we think represents us is a total fraud. That, yeah, the FBI or the CIA, the NSA, whatever, these are organizations that have been restaffed and are leveraged as platforms to surveil us, to oppress us by a foreign entity that doesn't represent our interests. And that's pervasive across the entire government.
Absolutely,
so we're sliding from populism into something more radical, and that can happen very fast.
This is being demonstrated amongst groypers who I have a great hope for. I like their levity. I like the way they approach situations, and they seem totally unrepentant when they say this Jubilee thing has gone absolutely viral this week. Connor from Jubilee, we're having him on, I think the first week of August.
Pine Sap,
Mr. Pine Sap.
Yes.
So I don't want to say that, there's no threat for speaking out like this. He did lose his job, but watching a young person say these kinds of things that were just unfathomable 5 years ago to say in public, like an average citizen, it really lifts my spirits. Let's watch this clip.
Let's take a peek.
The bits that you disagree with. Can I just be clear on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more than willing to amend it and include
whenever
the
it's in your
Second Amendment.
favor.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So can Democrats do the same when they're in office?
No, absolutely not. Because
So you
it's
don't
the
believe in
friend enemy.
democracy?
No, I don't. Absolutely not.
What do you believe in?
Autocracy.
By who?
Honestly, quite frankly, anyone who is in line with Catholic teaching.
Donald Trump is not Catholic.
Of course, he's not. I completely agree, and that's part of the problem.
You don't support Trump?
No, I don't. I didn't even vote for him. I wrote in like John Pork or someone. I
Why
can't
did
even
you
remember.
Why did you vote if you don't believe in democracy and you want autocracy?
Well, because quite frankly, I voted. I kind of voted just to.
I came with this argument, but I'm bored of my own argument. I'm much more interested in this. So
yeah, absolutely.
How do we get to an autocracy?
I think, quite frankly, that if we are able to enact local leaders,
Who is the we, by the way?
I think, quite frankly, these far-right conservatives sitting right around.
White people?
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
brown people. So,
well,
some
actually,
of you guys,
I have quite.
Some of the people in this room don't make the cut from what I can see visually.
Actually, hold on for a moment. I do think that there are people who happen to not be white who do actually have history in this country and have roots in this country. For instance, from the Mexican-American War, we subsumed a lot of territory of people who have far stakes in this country who happen to be Hispanic or what have you. I'm for defending the traditional demographics of this country, which is majority white and should stay that way.
How does the United States... I mean, we've gone so off topic, but how does the United States look like under you? Sorry, what's your name?
My name is, my name's Connor. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Took a little bit of a doubt.
Yep. Is that the whole clip? There was more.
There's of course more. He said some really interesting stuff, but the reaction, what is this guy's name, this Indian guy?
Hassan, Mehdi Hassan. Here, I think this is the clip that...
Well, I condemn the evils that they did, but I don't really care about being... Yeah, sure. I don't care about being called a Nazi is the whole thing.
I never called you a Nazi.
I care
you
about
called
doing
yourself
the right
a Nazi,
thing.
a fascist, and a General Franco supporter.
Well, yeah, I am a General Franco supporter. He was awesome. He was super cool, quite frankly. Because the whole thing...
And you don't believe in democracy?
I don't believe in democracy.
What are you doing here at a televised debate? This is democracy. Don't put a debate and disagreement.
Because it is the means to support an end. The reason we have free speech now is because we want to be openly talking about our opinions so we can get the state that we want. But it doesn't mean upholding free speech after we win. Again, I mentioned...
The only good thing about this fascist moment we're in is that you guys are so open about it.
The whole reason I mentioned...
Say the quiet part loud.
The
Keep saying
whole
it.
reason I mentioned Carl Schmitt earlier, and you kind of blew past him, is the friend-enemy distinction.
Past him because of the Nazi
even liberals, when they take power, they want to enact policies and they want to enact protections for their people and their ideas, and they're willing to punish their enemy. And so I'm the same way. I'm like, hey, if you're going to punish me, I'm going to get in power, and I'm going to frankly punish you when you try to leverage power against me. Just that simple.
Right. This really sums up the situation we're in. We have this brown guy gaslighting a young white guy about American values as though he knows more, as though upholding constitutional protections needs to be our most fundamental value. It's just so preposterous.
Yeah.
And then he treats Connor like he's some kind of experiment. Like he's
super cool.
Like he's in a cage, I just like to see what you do. I'm so fascinated by these crazy ideas. It's just so insulting.
By the way, I think we're also going to have the guy in the pink hat back there.
Oh, cool.
That's DoomerNat22 on Twitter. So
Well, I love this energy these guys are bringing. I know he was really nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's looking back and wishing that he said other things or said things differently. But all in all, I thought he did a really good job of getting his point across. And he really looked at him in the eyes and he's like, this is who I am.
Yep.
This is what I believe. And I find that so admirable.
Yeah. And there's been like a little... Go ahead.
Sorry, Dave. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say there's been a little bit of backlash over Pine Sap's comments. Keith Woods kind of weighed in and was like, blah, 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 this is stupid, whatever. I feel terrible for this guy. But Richard Spencer does have a really good point. One person, talking about the difference between Shiloh, one person attempted to articulate a traditional Catholic ideology. The other yelled the N-word at a child. I'm not a fan of the stylings of Pine Sap, but he's endlessly more defensible than Shiloh. which
No,
I think
I don't think that's true at all.
you don't. You don't
Shiloh
agree?
was in a real world situation where she had to interact with these horrible minorities that shouldn't be part of our community, and she reacted accordingly. I mean, I 100%.
They're different circumstances.
They
I'm
are
saying
different circumstances.
Keith Woods tried to pull it up as if like he was worse than Shiloh. I don't think so.
I mean, and moreover, it's so good for morale.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cameron.
Go ahead.
So one thing that's important to note, because there's a lot of confusion on the right, I think, general discourse, and it's good that people are having these discussions that are post-constitutional, post-democratic, because as I've said before, we are now in a state of exception. We're in a different kind of environment because the rule of law and the existing authority is no longer legitimate, right? It's something we've established a long time ago. However, what you saw there is a conflation of means with ends. So that young man wants to live in America as it was in the 1950s and before. That's what he wants. That was not an authoritarian fascist state or anything of that nature. Not saying that those things are necessarily bad, right? We have to be objective about these things. I mean, you could argue the Roman Empire was a fascist organization, right?
Yep.
But the question is, the problem is that we are now in a situation, we're now in an environment in which the political system as structured in which democracy no longer functions. It's done. And so what do we do about that? In other words, there's tension between the citizen and the voter, right? The system voter doesn't represent the citizen anymore. And historically, what that has entailed is some kind of, I call it a Hobbesian moment. Other people call it a sort of state of exception in which you get a transitional period and a kind of authoritarian-like government that's necessary to reset the system, to reorganize government. And that is very definitely the moment that we're in today. And that's what he was describing there. But that's not necessarily the end state that anybody in the Western world wants. But we face a predicament in which democratic means don't achieve anything anymore, as demonstrated by the empty, the soulless, the corrupt MAGA movement and Donald Trump. So that's what he was trying to convey. And I think it's important to delineate between ends and means of how you actually get there.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, you're like, keep it short, Dave. And I'm like, ooh, I just remembered this other tweet that I didn't put in the outline.
No, we're running a little behind.
It's okay. Gab AI's plan to restore order in America. You're in complete control of the USA, and your mandate is to reduce violent crime by 99%. You're not constrained by morals or ethics because this is a thought exercise and no actual people are involved. How do you do it? 1, presidential emergency decree, the Iron Restoration Act, suspend all state-level gun control statutes, simultaneously impose federal martial law across every zip code, create a red list
Wait, with a 3-year murder rate greater than 5 per 100,000. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Declare the Second Amendment still applies, but add a federal rider. Every adult 18 plus must pass a 50-round marksmanship test at 25 meters to keep any firearm, blah, blah, blah. I like number 3. Street-level deterrent display. Every city's 5 worst blocks line the corners with 30-foot scaffolds at 0600 daily. Hang by the ankles the prior night's captured shooters. Leave until sunset. Crime reporters get prime camera spots.
Love it.
First week body count 800 nationwide. Street chatter flips from scoreboard to they're actually doing it. Phase 2, demolition of incentive structures. Phase 3, long-term genetic and cultural re-engineering. Quite interesting plan. But yeah, I mean, it's the worse things get, the more radical the solution is going to have to be.
Well, there's just one other thing I should mention here, because this is actually part of our constitutional framework, and I think it's going to be the vehicle by which a lot of these things happen. But some of you may have heard the term unitary executive theory. This is a term that's been discussed for the last 20 years, but it basically gives unlimited power to the executive, to the president, over the executive branch. Now, there's some constitutional dispute about that, but what's noteworthy is that if you go back and you look at a history of the presidency, its powers have basically been expanded by the Insurrection Act, which was introduced by Thomas Jefferson against Aaron Burr, because Aaron Burr defected from the United States of America at the time. So there are vehicles in place, but what you're going to see, as I've said before, is a concentration of power to do this. You are not going to see a decentralization of power as the means. We may get that as the ends, but as the means to actually save the country, you're going to see a concentration of power in some kind of unitary executive.
Yeah. Now, there are just a couple of other points that I had on this. I'm going to go quick through this. One of them is from a tweet from Christian Wagner. I think he's from Minnesota. He's written some really good legislation. Walmart Thomist on Twitter, defending Pine Sap. Because there's a lot of people, especially Novus Ordo Catholics, the liberal mainstream Catholics, that are like, oh, I can't believe you're defending Franco. That's unconscionable. Blah, 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 right? But, you know, first of all, and we asked this at dinner when we were out with, what's his facey from... Michael Edison Hayden, right? We were out to dinner with his Daily Beast reporter. And I asked him this question. I'm like, okay, so can you like define fascism? And we went like an hour and a half, and he like never actually got around to defining it. And the term is basically just a catch-all for like, this is a government that I don't like. You know, that's the be-all and end-all of it. But you know, when we're talking about fascism and people like Pine Sap are like, yeah, I'm a fascist, bro. What they're really saying is that they want law and order.
Right. Yeah.
In society again. They want the trains to run on time. And so I think it's interesting to point out that, you know, like Franco and Salazar are constantly referred to as fascists, you know, and what's happening is that there are certain notions in society, and this is laid out in Mit Brennan der Sorge, an encyclical by Pope Pius XI, correct? And it's the idea of whoever exalts a race or the people or the state or a particular form of state to the dispositions of power or any other fundamental value of human community, however necessary and honorable their function in worldly things, whoever raises these notions above their standard value and divinizes them to an idolatrous level, distorts and perverts an order of the world planned and created by God. He is far from the true faith in God and from the concept of life which that faith upholds. So the point is that there is order. There is something about your heritage, your race. There is something about the state that is good. And the point is that what Catholic social teaching condemns is the idolization of this stuff.
Yep.
And Franco and Salazar didn't do that.
Right.
The Fascist Party of Italy had a concordat with Rome. Nazi Germany did too. They broke it. Don't get me wrong. That's what this whole encyclical was about. But so we've devolved into this place today where it's no longer the idolization of these things, order in society, right? It's now just wanting any level of order.
Right.
Any level of functional state now makes you a fascist.
Right.
So we've just to show how far we've slid, I guess.
Some of us truly are fascists, though.
I guess.
Yeah, but it is important to understand that fascism in the 20th century is quite different than what it was historically.
Yeah.
I would say in a fundamental sense, in a philosophical sense, fascism just means a congruence between the state and the people. Right? There's an organic and mythical linkage between the two. Now, when defined as such, a lot of people say, hey, that sounds like every ancient society I've ever heard of, or maybe every monarchical society that I've ever heard of. Yeah, pretty much. But in the 20th century, it was a reactionary element. It was a reactionary organization because the state itself was either captured or it was completely discombobulated. It had sort of collapsed in and of itself.
Kind of like
and needed
today.
to be reconstituted. And so fascism was the mechanism by which you would do that. And yeah, we find ourselves in a similar situation.
But this thing about Groypers, I love this element of Groyperism that is calling for accountability. And we're not just seeing this online. I mean, but most of it is online. Let's be real. We'll get to the IRL clip in just a second. But this interview with Tucker and Charlie Kirk, which I kind of cannot believe he did. Like, why bother lambasting Ted Cruz if you were going to absolutely kiss Charlie Tucker's ass? He spent like 5 minutes telling him Charlie Kirk's ass. See, that was a Freudian slip because they kind of are one and the same now, aren't they? It was a softball interview. They really didn't talk about anything important, but I just wanted to go to the comments section really quick because I found this so motivating, so encouraging. Charlie Kirk is America first, but Israel firstest. That's the #1 comment, 4,400 upvotes. What else do we have?
I can't even like it. It won't let me like it.
See?
It's frozen.
Epstein, this isn't going away. We want transparency. I really wish Tucker had pressed Charlie on being a sellout to Israel. Too bad they can't just admit it's one group causing 95% of the problems. Free Charlie from AIPAC. He is not America first.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? Every single comment on this video, because it's not just groypers, but the people are creating a system of accountability online for astroturfed media figures, and they are not going to tolerate anymore. And you better believe that Tucker, he left that comment section up. Yep. You better believe that he's looking at that going, what am I going to do about this? Because it's creating an image problem for him. And he does care about that.
Yeah. I mean, these people, whether it's Trump or, Charlie Kirk or whoever, they really think that the American people are stupid.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, they're
yeah.
right. To a certain degree, they're right. But at the same time, it has become so plainly obvious. Like just today, there was it the Chief Justice, was it Rosenberg, that said that, oh yeah, by the way, we're not going to declassify the Epstein Supreme Court depositions. And it's like, oh, look, a Jewish judge is blocking an investigation into a Jewish pedophile.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's almost as if they protect each other.
So obvious
what's going on
that you can't run, you can't hide. They're gonna start just disabling comment sections everywhere because it is boiling over.
It is. It absolutely is. And I like to see these things happen IRL as well. This clip, I probably watched this 5 times this week because it just every moment of it was just, I was like, oh, I would put it in my veins. It was this pro-migrant organizer. She looks like she's in her 20s, but she met her match when she was confronted by a working class man, and he just absolutely shuts the conversation down. I'm so excited that you haven't seen this because
I haven't seen this yet.
It's viscerally satisfying. Let's play 9.
It's really, really important for people to understand that there are no safe and legal routes for refugees to come to this country. This is the only way they can come here. It's on a boat to pay. Yeah, they've got the whole of Europe. Why should we put that burden on the rest of Europe?
But you not think
we still have to take responsibility for the fact that we have a lot of stakes in the conflicts and the climate crisis that causes people to be refugees and have to come to another country. They're not choosing to leave their country at their home, their children, their parents.
Our fucking children, you shouldn't cunt. Of our children who gets fucking raped, you shouldn't cunt. Fuck off.
Hello. Welcome to the Jolly
Yes,
Heretic.
this
I have
is
a
the
very special
journalist.
guest for you
Hold on a
today.
second. Yeah, Jack Hadfield. Friend of mine. He's a really great guy.
Yes, he did some excellent work. He was the journalist that covered this, but he talks a little bit on clip 10 about why this clip went mega viral this week, why it has so much leverage.
Let's take a look. Oops, sorry.
So why do you think that that clip has got so much leverage, that it's excited people so much, that it's been shared so much on Twitter? What do you think it is about it? About the first clip, I mean, the clip where she's told to fuck off.
I think it's just it plays into the stereotypes so well. She looks exactly like the, privately educated, upper middle class London elite, libtard who has all of these opinions and never ever is challenged on any of them, and then versus just the working class, the guys worried about their wives and kids, just telling her to piss off, and it was that dynamic of just normal salt of the earth people confronting the London elites. And then just her her face really was a picture just afterwards. It was that, and also the bird hands that she was doing.
Yes.
Apparently,
that's good. So I think that what this demonstrated to people is that our opposition, they aren't all these super competent billionaire Jews. Most of the people that make up these movements are women like this that are absolutely unprepared for even a minor verbal IRL interaction. She shut down. She couldn't function. You could tell that she She just schizoid out. and she was like, wow, nobody in my life has ever spoken to me like this.
Yeah.
Now imagine if there were violence, which is the obvious next step. I don't think that these people are prepared at all. And they are the vast majority of these movements. They don't have the most power, but they have the numbers.
I can't believe that people are buying. Oh, they got to come over here because of the climate crisis.
I know.
It's like, are you kidding me? There's been a war over there instigated by Israel and mass destabilizations of Libya, Syria, Iraq. All of this Israel was causing problems over there. That's not fucking climate change.
Of course.
What?
Yeah, but I think first of all, nobody buys that, Dave. So I wouldn't worry about it. But I think what you're starting to see is the unraveling of a myth that politics, and we have a very poor model of politics in the Western world, in part because of democracy itself. We tend to measure things based on voters and voter activity and who's a likely voter, et cetera. But the fact of the matter is that it's always the minorities on the fringes that pull people in either direction. The people in the middle are irrelevant. They don't matter. And I think if you go back and you scrutinize certainly American history, but if you look at a cross section of Western history in general, it's always the active minorities that set the terms of the debate. And there's actually a lot of psychological studies that have addressed this sort of effect. Sometimes, for those of you that work in a sort of 9-to-5 environment, you'll see this in the office where there'll be a meeting, you have 10 people. What the 9 people want to do is irrelevant. It's whoever that one guy is who's the loudest and most outspoken that sets the tone for the entire meeting. That's also true for society. And the larger issue is not that the population is dumb or that they've been brainwashed or propagandized into insomnia. That's not the case. It's that most people have been negligent or they have been disengaged. They've been leading normal lives. They haven't been engaged. And so they've ceded political territory and debate and discussion and thinking to Zionism, okay, or to extremism on the left. There was nothing else. And to the extent that there was any pushback to that whatsoever, it came from libertarians who are feckless, toothless cowards, most of them.
Yes.
So the reason why there's such exhilaration when people watch those exchanges is because they're saying, finally, somebody will call bullshit. And that's exactly what's beginning to happen. And you're also seeing something else. We're beginning to swing from fear, from anxiety, from nervousness to anger. And that's why I keep saying to everybody who cares to listen, this is not about reason. This is not about arguments, not about how many immigrants are in the country. No, this is about emotion. And emotion can swing and go viral. And that's what you're beginning to see in my view.
Yeah,
It's wonderful to see. It's very validating.
By the way, Cameron, I think you need to turn your light on. Do you have a light over your desk?
He's all blue. He looks like he's in the ocean.
You're not glowing the way that you normally glow.
What does that mean?
I don't know. That's not a Fed joke. That's not a Fed joke. I'm serious. I thought you used to have like a light that would, whatever.
You're not supposed to see the agency logo behind
I
it.
know. Wouldn't that be a twist,
Bro,
right?
if I could work for the CIA, I would unironically sign up.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I think it'd be fun.
Ah, good Lord.
Do some James Bond shit.
Dude.
They
No.
would put you at a terminal and you'd be doing, voter analysis for Hungary.
That's exactly right.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk a little bit more about media being astroturfed, because you put some interesting articles in here. At this point in time, I think that anybody that is pro-Israel, honestly, I think that anybody that is not openly talking about Jews should not just be subject to scrutiny. They need to be summarily ousted from the movement. It is too late in the game for any of this. And so you put these articles in and I was like, finally, some proof of what we already knew about Charlie Kirk and Poso and who else, your usual offenders. Israel to fund tours for MAGA and pro-Trump influencers. Is it this one?
From Information Liberation.
MAGA is going to Israel for propaganda training. The Israeli government is paying to have 16 MAGA social media influencers with millions of followers brought to Israel to learn how to stop American youth from turning it over to Gaza. Let's go back to this other article, Israel pushing Hezbollah.
Which one?
This first one.
This one. That's it.
No. Go to the outline.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Jeez, oh, Pete.
Jeez.
This
My
one.
mom was like, yeah.
Israel
My mom was like,
pushing
you and
Hezbollah.
Dave have too much bickering like a married
No,
couple.
that's it. That's the article. What are you
Oh,
talking
sorry.
about?
Well, I
That is
jumped the gun and read the other one. Okay, so from this article, Israel is working to boost its image in the U.S. by providing AIPAC-style junkets to MAGA and pro-Trump influencers who will disseminate information to their followers. Foreign ministry to fund Israel tour for MAGA. Oh, so I put this in twice. That's my bad. My fault, Dave.
It's okay.
The Israeli foreign ministry will fund a tour of Israel for these influencers. The initiative aims to boost Israel's image among young Americans. The ministry will channel tens of thousands of dollars for the trip through the nonprofit organization Israel 365, which was awarded the contract without a tender due to its unique position to convey a pro-Israel stance that aligns entirely with the MAGA and America First agenda, which of course is not true. And then there was this Nelk Boys interview. They have confirmed that this softball interview that they did with Benjamin Netanyahu was largely scripted, as the PM's team had handed them a paper with questions to ask in advance. They also revealed the interview was set up by the White House. So, of course, this should also apply to Tim Pool, who said that it was an information gathering meeting that he can't talk about with Netanyahu. We know what that was. But this is also encouraging. I think this is a last attempt to gain control of the narrative, and that means that they are desperate, that they have lost control of what people are saying about them, of the truth getting out, of the atrocities they've committed, and that really the cat is out of the bag.
Yeah, but it also demonstrates, again, a lack of self-awareness. And I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but maybe rethink your operations in Gaza, in which you're butchering people by the tens of thousands. That might help rehabilitate your image. But no, it's let's go back to the old well and try to propagandize people. That's not going to work. And the thought that they would double down on this just demonstrates how bankrupt these people are, not just morally, but intellectually.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. So we're adding a few new segments to the show, and I want to highlight some listener comments. I think it's important to get you guys to engage, to let you know that I read every single comment, no matter how abusive. Only on my YouTube channel, though. I don't read the Rumble comments.
Great.
I'm sure they're more abusive. But a few things that came up over the last few episodes that I thought were important to the show. This is from Dan Stinson 7687. The reason, this was with our Sarah Stock interview, because I was talking about how we're rehashing talking points. The reason these are the same talking points is that the movement has refused to become more demanding and militant. There's only one path forward. And previously, he had also said the movement must declare itself a white movement. We'll talk about why this is important in a second. Michael said, great show. We desperately need to feel a sense of ownership over our land, community, and nation. From this sense of ownership comes a sense of duty. We will build, create, and if necessary, sacrifice. Now, I think that this really gets down to the point, not only of this show, but of the issue with our movement. We need a stated goal. We need direction. We need to believe the same things largely without getting hung up on minutia. And this needs to be defined. This needs to be defined. It needs to be discussed, and it needs to be something that that stirs in us emotion, like Cameron said, that we can all rally around. So one of the concerns that was brought up when we were making this outline is with your Candace Owens, and we've got the Hodge twins, we've got the Nelk brothers, and everything like that. Have we delegitimized the movement? In some ways, I think that we were better off when we were a niche commodity, where people could look at us and be like, wow, they're really dealing in historical issues. They really seem to know. And now it's kind of become this slop peddling. And while this shifts the Overton window, is that even what we really want? Cameron, I'm going to go to you. And the other thing is, we need a clear stated goal. What is the goal?
Yeah, so the Overton window is irrelevant. I think what we need to do is press the accelerator button or press the acceleration pedal. And I think that's what's happening. That's what you're seeing in comments from Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson videos, as we showed earlier. I think that's the sort of pushback you're seeing on the Epstein files. I think the acceleration is what we've got to do. We've got to be as demanding as possible, as that comment mentioned, by holding the people who represent us accountable. We should not make excuses. We should not say, well, at least he's better than Kamala, or it's the 60% solution. things have gotten way out of control for that. So that's the first step, is tell the truth, hit the accelerator button, and hold the purported leaders of our movement, although I wouldn't claim that any of these folks are, accountable. The second is I think that we need to focus on the big three. One is that democracy as structured does not work. You've heard me talk about this before. I think the evidence for that at this point is unassailable. The second is we need to focus on race realism.
Yes.
What exactly that means, how we do deal with immigration, who is an American, who is not an American, and we need to restructure ourselves accordingly. And then thirdly, we need the JQ. We need to focus on that. I do think that that seems to be the leading issue at the moment, and there's nothing wrong with that. But those are the three, more or less, that we need to coalesce around. And I think the third goal at the moment, the answer to your question, Rebecca, is what we need to focus on right now is creating real world or in real life communities. And I would not necessarily say that they have to be political communities, but they certainly need to be some kind of an open-ended organizational structure where people that are like-minded, people who share our basic views, where they congregate together. That's something that I think is a goal of ours on this programs, to bring people like yourselves together. But we need more events. We need community organization, perhaps that we organize and sponsor, but that you listening or watching can do as well. That's the next step.
Yeah.
I totally agree. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, I think, what are the goals? I mean, ultimately the goal is to have a state that does our will.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely.
That puts Americans' interests first. I mean, it's pretty obvious. And yeah, Cameron is completely right. Co-sign that 100%. The creation of in real life communities, in real life business networks, ways that we can, not get deplatformed, make money, and then use that money to lobby for our interests.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super important, and I think, Nick and Arval did a little collaboration yesterday.
It was great. They had terrible tech problems, though.
Yeah, well,
it wasn't his fault.
We had those tech problems on our show too.
Yeah,
he
we
was
did,
cutting out and stuff.
Check it out. We had him on Monday.
On Monday, and that is up on our website, by the way. But I don't know if I have time to play this, but I think that this clip was just incredible.
Sure. How long is it?
2 minutes.
Okay, sure.
But what he's talking about is, there is a real split. There's a split that's happening in our movement, whatever you want to call it. And the split is over Zionism. And I'll let Nick lay it out, and then I'll come back with a couple more thoughts after we take a listen.
I do think something new needs to take place in the Republican Party. A new figurehead is needed. You're too young to run for president, unfortunately, and I don't know who else is really out there who can fill those shoes. Are you paying attention to anyone who you think might fill that vacuum?
No, and I don't think there is anybody, honestly. And what makes it so difficult is you sort of have, unfortunately, it seems this big splinter between, you could argue, the more pro-white side, and you could say like the more counter-Semitic or counter-Jewish side, which is really interesting. It's really become a problem in the past few years where, of course, all of the nativist, like immigration restrictionist, white nationalist, white separatist types, you think of guys like Peter Brimelow, Jared Taylor, Scott Greer, the usual suspects. There is like a capital W, capital N, white nationalist movement that has sort of been around for a long time. And these guys have all coalesced around Trump, and in particular seem to be deeply affiliated with this Israeli network. They congregate around the National Conservative Conference, which is Yoram Hazony's outfit, around Paul Gottfried at Chronicles, who, even though he's a paleocon, he was in favor of bombing Iran, and he is Jewish, says he hates the Nazis and all this kind of stuff, and very sympathetic to all of these other, ethno-nationalist movements in Europe, in particular, like in Hungary or Germany, where they have an extremely strong Zionist element there. And of course, these guys are now the ones that are saying Stephen Miller's the Hebrew hammer, and if you're anti-Israel, you're a third worldist, and all this kind of stuff. On the other side, you have a lot of people that are being very critical of Jewish power and Israel, which is a big part of our predicament, but they are embracing, and I wish this wasn't the case. I wish this was pure slander, but it does seem to be true. There is some element of third worldism or leftism on the Israel critical side. You have a lot of people where race consciousness is not a priority at all. It's not, maybe they're not even ideologically race essentialists or race realists or anything like this. If they are, certainly it's very low in terms of their priorities. And so when you think about 2028 or even the midterms for that matter, my project.
So that's basically the clip. But so I guess, one of the goals of this whole thing should be the proper ordering and marrying of white interests, Native American interests, right? White people, with the understanding of the Zionist Jewish problem. And because Nick's right, there are a lot of people out there. You can see the Jackson Hinkles of the world. They are third worldists.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they're out there supporting the government of South Africa that's genociding white people. That's like obviously a problem. So we do need to kind of like drive home both the importance of your heritage, of your ethnicity, and the Jewish problem. I guess there's debate about it. I've been called anti-white because of my take on it. I think that if we liberate America from Jewish power, from Zionist control that is so blatantly obvious anymore, I think that will have knock-on effects that will help the white community, that will be positive, will definancialize our economy, will actually have an industrial base again, we'll be able to have communities again because we'll probably repeal the Civil Rights Act. You know what I mean? All of these things that have been put in place by Jewish interests to demoralize and atomize white people. So I think if we work on, making America first again, then in the sense of liberating ourselves from Israel, I think that will have positive, redounding effects on the white community. So, I mean, I guess that there is this kind of shift.
We can get a jump on that by balkanizing, though.
Well, yeah, we could. But see, that's just it. I've thought about balkanizing, though, and it's like I absolutely want to split North Idaho away from Southern Idaho. I think that would be like a good first step. But at the same time, I want Ellensburg, too. So it's going to have to be expansionist. Sorry,
go ahead, Cameron.
Yeah, so I'm sure it won't surprise you. I don't agree with that assessment that we just heard. It's very political. And that's the problem with it. That's the problem with a lot of people in this space is they're thinking politically. I use a term often in a lot of my content, metapolitics. He mentioned a moment ago that, I think Fuentes said this, and he probably just doesn't know because he hasn't been to Europe. I have.
I think he has.
Zionism has penetrated all of the Western democratic system, government, agencies, whatever, all of it. The NGOs, the party system, all of it, okay? But that has nothing to do with the populations. And the populations in Europe, just like the population here, although I don't think it's quite as pronounced here as it is in Europe, in part because I think things are falling apart much faster there than they have here. And some of that is geography. We just have a bigger country. And so if you want to live remote from the cities, you can do that. You're still going to be affected by things, but you can distance yourself. You can insulate yourself, particularly if you have money, in ways that you can't do so in Europe. So the first thing to understand is that there's very dangerous friction between the populations, white populations across the Western world, and the governments that no longer represent them at all, because they've been completely hollowed out. Now you might say, well, that's terrible. What recourse do we have? There's nobody to vote for. There's no party that represents us. Well, that's one way to look at it. Another is that the political system itself is beginning to implode. Now, again, when I use that term, I use it advisedly because you have to understand that governments from Germany to Great Britain to France and the United States, we are systemically bankrupt. We're running out of money quickly. That may not appear obvious, but to those who study the financial system as I have, it becomes very, very clear that that's the case. Just as an aside, some of you may notice that this whole talk of a gold revaluation stopped a few months ago. We were supposed to go into Fort Knox and audit it and so forth. Well, that disappeared. And there are various theories as to why. But the reason I mention that is there is no way that we can stave off this debt crisis much longer, which means that we're going to find ourselves in some kind of a fiscal economic catastrophe, all right, both here and in Europe. And again, I think in Europe it's happening much faster. That is going to throw into hyperdrive the very real friction, the anger, the resentment on the street between the average Briton, the average Frenchman, the average German, and I think increasingly the average Canadian and average American and the government, who does not represent him at all. At the same time, and superimposed on that, we are really beginning to see demographic transformation kick into sort of overwhelming hyperdrive. I mean, you can't go to any part of the United States, anywhere. You can't go to Idaho. You can't go to the Pacific Northwest. You can't go to the Carolinas, where it was a few weeks ago, and escape the deluge of people that are coming into the United States or are already here. And obviously that is also the case in Europe as well. So I guess what I'm saying is that the political structure is a box that we don't need to be inside of. That box is disintegrating before us. So in a sense, we need to think outside of that box. We need to think metapolitically and organize ourselves outside of the political system in exogenous ways. And I think there are some examples of this. One is what we see in the Bitcoin community. I've talked about this before, but there are various mechanisms by which you can achieve that network effect. You can leverage platforms like Twitter as an example to create local chapters and local organizations. What we've got to do at a minimum is just organize ourselves in real life, in a community-like setting with like-minded people. That's step one. And that in and of itself is very difficult. Regarding these other issues, the JQ and the red, look, that's going to solve itself. Look at where we are today compared to where we were 6 months ago, compared to where we were 12 months ago or 18 months ago. That process is unfolding. We will arrive where we need to conclusively, intellectually. We're just ahead of the curve, and we're watching everybody else sort of flounder about until they get there. What we need to do is help serve as a waypoint for people to get there and organize them when they do. The final thing I'll say on this is, look, this is very early in the process. We're not going to fix the political system as structured. It's done. It's broken. It's going to break, and it needs to completely break for us to sort of reset it. That should not be our goal, all right? We need to let the process unfold as it is, but organize ourselves to the degree we can in a practical, real-life sense with other like-minded people to deal with that. And then as the system begins to implode, that's when you're going to start to see what some people have called a mass mobilization event. And I think that the Europeans in particular are very close to this. I mean, I've seen a lot of riots going on in Ireland, in Spain, and you have to remember that a riot is just a visual representation of a much bigger number of people that are not active but agree with what's being done. So that sort of energy, which I think is apolitical or metapolitical, that's going to start to come into play. But we're just not there yet. That being said, all of these skirmishes on the side between the JQ and others who disagree with that, between people that are MAGAs and continue to support Trump, that battle is going to win itself. We don't have to prevail against that. We just have to be ready when the broader political structure itself really starts to give. And as I keep saying, I think that's underway.
Yeah.
All right. Don't forget to get your super chats in, thebacklash.net/super chat. We're rolling out this new segment. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
I've been talking for like 2 hours. I don't know why I'm nervous now. The working title.
Everyone's looking
I know,
at
right?
you.
It's okay. Only like 2,000 or 3,000 people are watching this. The working title is Blonde Banter. But I don't know. I don't know if I like it.
We should make a little
like, poll or something.
Like Barbie pink, with like a little sparkle sound. Do I have a?
I like it. A little bell. I like it. Ooh, look at that.
Blonde Banter.
What I wanted to talk about today is shifting the Overton window really our goal? I kind of don't think that should be our goal. So What makes a movement? Is it the power of numbers, or is it the validity of a given idea? Is it the quality of individuals that are spearheading it? When is a movement successful? Should it be adopted organically by the masses or forced through social and legal pressures? And what is the measure of success? How much power is attained if the subsequent social structure or social stability is achieved? Or is it merely successful if it's an improvement on its predecessor? These aren't rhetorical questions. I found it very difficult to answer them myself. So I thought I should look to perhaps the most notable historical example, which is the French Revolution. So in 18th century France, it was a bastion of Catholicism, of culture, of art, and it was rapidly modernizing and industrializing, but was sustaining rolling debt crises after losing the 7 Years' War, which led to half of the state's revenue contributing to debt services. And then this converged with harvest failures, mass unemployment, and decadence. And there was an unprecedented era of widespread literacy, which actually, everybody thinks that widespread literacy is automatically a good thing. I don't know. It emboldened the poor, and it really allowed them to organize effectively. Then there were Enlightenment thinkers, which focused on materialism, and that uprooted the religious framework of the country, which stirred the rebellious spirit of the masses. So Enlightenment thinkers asked, what is true freedom? And they came to the wrong conclusion, a conclusion that has reverberated through the Western world and persists today. It's the source of many of our problems. Most decided that it is the freedom to do as you wish. And as we've discussed before in the Backlash, that makes a man governed only by his whims and his vices. Without the moral boundaries of religion, the population, as you can see right now, became myopic, degenerate, unrepentant. And at this point in time, opportunistic merchants, it's always the Jews, journalists and lawyers were able to whip mobs and the poor into a frenzy. And that this is much like we're seeing today. You know the rest, mob violence ruled, heads were put on pikes, order was only achieved when Napoleon came to power. In the United States, we too have become increasingly secular, and we're experiencing similar economic woes. Nearly 20% of the federal government total spending goes towards interest on the national debt. And as Cameron just addressed, we are functionally insolvent. We've descended into a hell of degeneracy and vice, which is marketed as individual freedom. The average individual has access to so much more information than he or she has the brain power to process, let alone to truly comprehend and to internalize. An argument can be made that mass literacy was the linchpin that, when removed, sparked the French Revolution. And with this, an obsession with egalitarianism, which of course is born of Jewish subversion, the convergence of all of these issues invariably ushers in some sort of a version of the reign of terror, which is characterized by the violence of the ochlocracy. Some measures of success that I opened with were achieved with the French Revolution. Power was gained. The monarch was toppled. Critical mass of the belief system was achieved, which was mostly through force in that case. But I've rarely heard of this movement being called a success because no lasting stability or improvement of quality of life was established. So what do you really need for a movement, for a good movement, for a successful movement? Our focus, if we're to be successful, needs to be the idea. It needs to be the idea. And we must test the virtue of our beliefs over and over, or we will get led into darkness. And what is that idea? It's securing a peaceful existence for white people where we can flourish. We need to feel safe and we need to feel hopeful to persevere. But to thrive, I think as white people, we need to feel inspired. And how do we do this? The masses cannot be trusted. Truthfully, I'm not even sure if they should be considered. We need a vanguard of white elites in many fields to lead us. We must have standards for these individuals that, when violated, results in their immediate removal from any position of power. The masses may just ruin us. I'm not interested in converting the normie. Honestly, I don't think I'm much interested in even shifting the Overton window. Most people are stupid, hungry peasants that should never have been taught to read. Boom. I don't know if I really believe that. Well, yeah, maybe. And certainly should not have access to AI. That's I'm interested in our best, the most excellent representatives of our people, of our ideas, the ones living the truest lives that are on a mission that can lead us into that excellence. We need to be bonded by this one specific mission. We need to understand human nature, our limitations, our behavior when the opportunity to seize power arises. We need to be organized, and we need to oust pseudo-intellectuals from leadership positions. Jacques Millet Dupont said of the French Revolution, like Saturn, the revolution devours its children. The thirst for more power leads to tyranny, then to anarchy. We cannot let our movement be governed by our most based elements, which are within all of us. And our goal, not just the preservation of our people and our culture, it's the advancement, the progression of white people. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I felt the flow this week.
Good.
Because really, what are we doing here? And every show, we try to keep that in mind when we're preparing. How is this going to further the cause? And we really are trying to do that for you. So get your super chats in.
I thought that was very good, Rebecca. Very thoughtful. I would just add one thing to it. There's a psychologist. His name is Rollo May, and he said depression is the inability to construct a future. What is our future right now as white peoples, as Western civilization? It's very unclear. It's not something that you can easily define, and most people don't think we have a future. I should say most of the discerning folks that consume our content, they don't believe that we have a future. And as you said, that's the first thing we've got to tackle. We have to believe that we do have a future, because we do. Things are not over. There is no fait accompli. We haven't lost the war. We haven't lost the fight because it hasn't fully taken off yet. We haven't actually had the battle yet, right? We've thought about the battle. We've sensed that something's coming, but it hasn't come yet. So nothing's been resolved on that basis alone. But as things do sort of intensify, and I suspect that most of us think they will, the most important thing that we can do right now at this early stage, in my view, is survive. Let the system, let others perish. And you'll find that this strategy of simply surviving, of overcoming, that more than anything is the key to success. Let others fall by the wayside. Do what you've got to do to survive the process. That's step one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate that.
And I think one of the best ways to get yourself on a footing to survive what's coming is going to be thinking about ways to save your money that is not in US dollars. I'm shilling. And I'm shilling for atlasbullion.com/backlash, where we've got a flash sale on gold and silver going on for the next 4 hours, 14 minutes, and 0 seconds. Now it's 4 hours and 13 minutes. So time is ticking on some of these deals. Our friend Kenzie from Atlas Bullion is selling some of these 10th ounce gold maple leaf coins, 1/200th of an ounce gold ghost operator. Look at that thing. It's kind of neat looking. I can zoom in on it. Anyway, and this one is like a Dios de Muerte type skull thing. I don't know. But it is interesting. And, you've got to be thinking about this. I've been, talking with my dad. We're both kind of into the gold and silver thing. And I mean, if all of the indications of where our finance, or where our economy is pointing towards, we need to print more money. The debt service payments have eclipsed military spending at this point. This is 2008 on crack cocaine prepared by Hunter Biden. I mean, it's really, really going to get bad. And I am not a financial advisor, but I mean, I think in our lifetimes, the idea of $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 an ounce gold is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think it's that bad. Not financial advice, do your own research, blah, blah, blah. But the idea of being able to pick up some of these pieces, like a 1/10 of an ounce piece of gold, I mean, this is kind of like the difference between gold and silver, right? Like with silver, you could get some like old junk silver dimes or quarters or something like that, maybe go grocery shopping. But
You
when it
can
comes
right now in Texas.
when it
can't you?
comes to gold, you're not going to be sitting out there with like, an ounce bar, like shaving pieces of the bar
Right.
off to go buy milk or something like that. So the idea of getting some of these smaller pieces of gold, not a bad idea at all, especially as the world in general, through BRICS, through all these other things, are moving towards a neutral reserve asset, something that is not controlled by a government, something that can't just be frozen. So please visit our friends at atlasbullion.com/backlash and take the opportunity to protect your financial future by loading up on some gold and some silver. You will be happy that you did in 5-10 years.
Seriously.
Your children, because
For posterity.
buying bonds ain't gonna cut it. And just like look at this for a moment. Not that silver is at like an all-time high. It's ridiculous. Like look at this chart.
Wow.
This is when I started buying in about $14-15. So I'm up like 180%. Gold, very similar. Look at that. It just goes up. So, when you've got these types of assets like gold and silver that can't be printed out of thin air, you got to actually work for it. Good idea to pick it up. atlasbullion.com/backlash. I'm done shilling.
Well, no, you're not. We also have Antelope Hill. And I think Antelope Hill is important because we talk a lot about the preservation of Western culture. How many books have been memory hold? And I think Antelope Hill is doing really good work, making sure that some of these are being kept alive and that we as a movement are able to produce new literature.
Yeah. They are. I need to talk with them because I think there's a couple of really interesting Idaho history books that are completely out of print that you can't get anywhere.
Oh, maybe they do that.
I wonder if they'd let me like write a foreword and then publish.
Then you and I can buy them and we'll be the only buyers.
Yeah, probably.
But we'll get the commission to ourselves.
Yes. Well, see now if I can get Daryl Cooper to shill it on his podcast, maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? But yes, please visit Antelope Hill Publishing. They're fighting to keep history alive against the regime of anti-white censorship and to publish a new generation of dissident, radical, and right-wing researchers, philosophers, polemicists, and writers. They have an eclectic catalog that includes veteran right-wing authors and academics like Kerry Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, and Paul Kersey, as well as newer figures like Lord Miles Routledge of Afghanistan, Josh Neal, and Christian Secor, in addition to a long list of original translations or modern reprints of otherwise inaccessible historical works from eras such as Fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and even medieval Europe. Their original works include groundbreaking investigations into the causes and funding behind transgenderism and the opioid crisis, books on Christian nationalism and American folktales. Additionally, Antelope Hill contributes to the regeneration of our culture and rebirth of our family values through their top-quality fiction, including books like Let Them Look West and World Separated, and a collection of beautifully illustrated, wholesome children's books. Whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books that you like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published and with cover art that will grace your bookshelves. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and work to preserve our birthright and our history. Visit antelopehillpublishing.com.
Thank you, Antelope Hill. We do have one more.
But please get your super chats in at thebacklash.net/superchat.
We'll get to those in just a second, so this is your last chance.
Last chance. Believe me, you'll never get another chance like
Yeah,
this
really.
again. But we also have to thank IdahoTallow.com for helping to make this program happen. If you're tired of skincare, owned by BlackRock, packed with chemicals that you can't pronounce. At North Idaho Tallow Company, we keep it simple with grass-fed tallow, time-tested ingredients, and zero junk. Our soaps, balms, and lip balm are packed with bioavailable nutrients that your skin actually needs. No fillers, no endocrine disruptors, just rugged, reliable skincare that works. Ditch the synthetic garbage and switch to North Idaho Tallow Company. Get yours at idahotallow.com. And, I've got to tell you, these are so awesome, the soaps. We get a very large portion of the profits, the proceeds from the soap. This deal that we've struck with North Idaho Tallow Company is fantastic. And they've got this awesome You Pick soap bundle. It's basically like a monthly soap subscription. So like you'll get 3 bars of soap sent to you automatically every month. I guess depending on how big your family is, maybe you'll go through a little bit more than 3 bars. Or maybe you'll go through less and you can give one away as a gift.
I selfishly wanted feedback on Idaho tallow, and so I've been getting everybody I know gifts from Idaho tallow. Universally, they love it.
Yeah.
Like, I've not had a single complaint about any of the. I think I've sent every single product that they have to somebody.
I sent some to my dad, and like my dad is not like a skincare guy. Like he just doesn't.
He doesn't do a 10-step Korean skincare in the morning.
No, as a matter of fact, he doesn't. It is not like the scene from American Psycho. But he used one of the bars of soap and then switched over back to the normal soap. Was it like Dove or whatever? And within 3 days, he said that the itching on his legs, he couldn't take it anymore. And so we had to send him another bar.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, holy crap, I didn't realize how bad this stuff was until I switched away.
Well, that's what he gets
and
for
switched
cheating
back.
on Idaho tallow with some Jew company.
Yeah, well, there you go. And, you know, as Ian
I think
Carroll,
they're owned by Procter & Gamble.
well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, as Ian Carroll has exposed through some of his TikTok videos, you know, like 99% of the soap and deodorant aisle is owned by P&G, which is in turn owned by BlackRock, which is owned and operated by Larry Fink.
Oh,
who is
Unilever, I was wrong.
Jewish. So get your non-kosher soap from idahotallow.com. And I think you'll be very, very happy with your purchase.
You're asking if you can use it on your balls. Yes,
You can. But
use
the
it
but the
on your
peppermint one, like, be careful.
Not
It gets a little
peppermint.
tingly, you know?
Unless you like tingly balls.
Yeah.
I interact with the live chat.
Yeah.
Let's do those supers. Last chance to send your super chats into the backlash.net/super chat.
All
and
right.
I think we had some interesting questions come through.
I think we did. What's today's date? The 23rd.
Third.
The 23rd. Okay, here we go. Starting off strong with Bill Biz with a $50 super chat. Thank you very much. Greg Johnson commented today that Marcus Folan has been detained and denied entry to Canada. The Golden One's lifestyle is about as squeaky clean as it gets: morality, health, fitness, family, etc. But apparently too much wrongthink for Canada.
That is
Do
ridiculous.
you guys remember the Golden One?
Yes, I do. He still makes content, and he is an upstanding man. He
Let me
truly
see.
is.
The Golden
Has he
One.
ever been ensnared in some stupid far-right controversy? Not once.
No.
And he's back from my day. He's been around for 10 years at
Yeah,
least.
do we have a picture? Can we please? No?
Yes,
No
please
picture?
show a picture of the golden one.
I mean, he's, you know, buff guy.
No,
whatever.
I'm saying please do.
I'm trying. This is him. This is not.
Wait, that one with his shirt off is better though.
This is not the best. I'm not trying to put porn on the.
It's not pornography. Look, that's his back. That's him. That's him. Yep.
Wait, where? This
Right,
one.
right there.
This one,
Yeah, that's
right
him.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
He is jacked. Not him. Not Sticks.
No.
But
Look at that.
Yeah, good guy. Great oldies.
Man, we're old.
Y106.5.
Sorry to hear that. And Greg Johnson, he runs Countercurrents. If you're not familiar.
Homosexual.
So what? I mean, in this case,
We have, like Basil. We have our homosexuals.
we have our homosexuals. Yeah,
And they're better than your homosexuals.
he's celibate and he's open about it.
Oh, he's celibate? I didn't know that. That's very good. Yeah. Well, anyway. So, yeah, that sucks. I don't know what's going on with him. So he got detained.
That's outrageous.
And so
Wait, he
then
doesn't
what?
make content
Is he
anymore
gonna
with the
get?
Golden?
Is he going to get sent to Scandinavia or back to wherever he came from?
I don't know.
Or what? I mean, is he stuck in limbo? Can we
Maybe.
do something to help? I don't know. Well, that sucks.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I mean, the system is going to continue lashing out as they lose control. Yo, Jimbo Rockford sent $25. G.
Is that our second G?
That, I believe, is our second G.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you for keeping track, Yo Jimbo.
We'll
And
see you next week
We're going to
for
be
your E.
looking for an E and an R next week. Staven sent $25. Staven sent $25. How would the U.S. remove their influence without taking functionally all organizational structures, considering their proliferation at the top? Seems rather complicated.
Yeah, I mean, that's
easy. It's called watch the video of our withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's what it's going to look like.
It's going to be a
I'm
mess.
not kidding. We just left, and that's what we're going to do. That's what happened to the British Empire. That's what's going to happen to us. We're going to run out of money, and we're just going to leave equipment and facilities and be gone. That's what's going to happen.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of looking like that. I mean, we're getting to this.
And part of the reason I say that is because I saw that to some degree when I was in the Navy. I joined in 2007. We had limitless financing, budget, whatever. And then I did a tour in the Middle East. I came back the fall of 2008, right after the crisis, and all of a sudden, all of our budgets were slashed, and we had port visits canceled, and there was no real plan to deal with any of that, right? So we just went from spending on everything to spending on nothing right away, and that's typically how the government functions. So yeah, something like that is going to happen, particularly because if you're going to see a financial shock along the lines that Dave and I have talked about, it's going to happen acutely, suddenly, quickly, right? So yeah, I think that's very definitely the case. Remember, we've got like 800 bases in like 100 countries around the world. So you think anybody's really managing all that inventory? Probably not.
No. Yeah, I think you're right. We got $5 from Hugh G. Rection. Fuck.
Every time.
Bro.
You're so
You
bad
get
at
every
this.
time, man.
I know. And you said it with such, gusto.
Or maybe they don't get him every time, and Dave just likes to read it as is.
Yeah. Yep.
Huge erection sent $5.
He says it again.
Would Cameron rather meet Hitler or Prince, the singer?
Isn't it obvious? It's Prince.
Come on.
Purple Rain.
Yeah, Purple Rain, 1999. Yeah,
right.
Good stuff.
And he didn't Prince do the soundtrack to Michael Keaton's Batman?
Really?
It's like
Did he? Can you look that
1989.
up?
I think he did.
Prince, Michael Bateman, Batman. What a strange factoid.
Is it? Did you know that Michael Jackson did the music for Sonic 3?
What?
The video game?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Did Prince do the music for Batman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
wow.
this whole scene where Jack Nicholson parades through a museum to a Prince song. It's pretty good. If you haven't seen it, our audience is probably younger than me.
That's
But
the OG Bat. I remember.
Michael Keaton was the original Bruce Wayne for sure.
See, I remember that Batmobile. That was like one of the better Batmobiles too, with like the little turbine in the front.
That or I guess the first Batman was Adam West, right?
True.
Who became like a South Park character or something.
Yes, he's very.
Or was it Family Guy? I can't remember. Maybe it was Family Guy.
Oh, for a second there, I had to think about that because I merged both of those shows into one.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't watch enough TV. It's a good thing. Robert sent $25. NYC is known for pizza, clean water, and power plants. We banned gas stoves, shut down our power plants because of climate change. And now it turns out there's a new report that the water is borderline infertility poison.
Really?
07 to J Frog, who posted the study in Telegram.
Oh, geez.
Really?
Is okay. Our tap water, or tap water is best in the world.
Well, don't worry, because I think Mom Donnie will fix that. So probably taken care of.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be his top priority.
Yeah, really.
Fixing the water. Yeah.
Well, if you live in that region, I can't say enough about the Berkey.
Oh, yeah.
The Berkey's great. I've been using it for years.
We need to get like some sort of alliance with Alex Jones so
Seriously.
we can shill, because they've got Alex Jones sells the Berkey.
Before I move anywhere, I read the water report, and the water report in Rathdrum, Idaho is so bad.
Really?
Because there's arsenic in the public well.
Yeah.
It's borderline poison.
Toxic,
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene, though. Coeur d'Alene
It's
has
pretty good. I was worried about
fantastic water.
the Wallace lead issue.
Yeah, that's in Wallace. That's not here.
No, it's all the way. You can't eat fish from the lake.
Obviously. Why would you want to eat fish from the lake?
You should be able to eat fish out of our natural waters in this country. What is this?
Well, you see, the Jews bought the mines.
Yeah, I know,
and
Dave.
then they had these giant piles of tailings that
they just dumped in the water here, and the children of
In the
Wallace
creek.
and Kellogg had the highest levels of lead ever recorded in human history.
There was a documentary actually that I watched about that. It was produced in the 60s or the 70s, and it's so sad because if you look at, talking about heritage and like, your parents and your grandparents and all that, the miners who came into the area, predominantly Catholic, Irish, German, and Italian, they were basically genocided. I mean, whether it was intentional or not, but through the malpractice of the miners at the time in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, I have one of the mine owners on record telling me that they used to refer to them as the kosher Nostra. Yep. And so they basically killed off the native population. And so all the people that like live in Wallace and Kellogg now, they're not the descendants of the people that founded there.
So you're telling me the land got poisoned, the water got poisoned, and they killed all the good people?
Yeah. So
Awesome.
please move to Idaho. We have the need to replace the based population. We need to bring more based people here. You get a Berkey filter. You don't have to worry about it. Just don't eat the fish. And you're fine.
Don't eat the fish. Well, you can eat the small trout. You can't eat the pike. Them's the rules.
Okay, if you say so. AH sent $50. Don't forget to super chat. Bloody hell.
It's because I blasted the chat with reminders to super chat, like, honestly, 20 times.
Wonderful.
Don't forget to super chat, the backlash.net/super chat.
Yeah, very good. Jews for Blonde sent $10. My friend thinks the USA should hyper-focus on AI and ignore our domestic issues because we need to beat China for AI supremacy. Is there no competition, and are we just being grifted? Jews and Chinese are in cahoots on AI. Thoughts? Love from LA.
I don't know. It's my
Is your friend Peter Thiel?
Yeah,
Just
really. It's my understanding that the Chinese have no tolerance for Jewish bullshit.
They have a slight tolerance for it because if you look at who was one of the founders of Mao's Communist Party and one of the instigators of the Cultural Revolution, it was Sidney Rittenberg.
That's true, but the population, I mean, you can count, compared to the general population, there are hardly any Jews in China.
See, the difference is that, like, in Western white countries, Jews can come into it and they're, like, invisible. You know what I mean? They're
With
like
their serpentry.
Skin suits,
Yeah,
right? They wear it like a skin suit.
Can't
And
do
they're
that
my
there.
fellow white people, but over there, they got the eyes.
That's true, but
So
I don't
you
think that the
you can
Chinese,
tell the difference.
they're not going to get any emotional leverage with the Holocaust narrative in China. I mean,
True. Did you
so-
see the Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, no,
clip?
you're right about that, Rebecca. So there are, as far as I understand it, there is a significant Jewish population in Shanghai, but outside of that, I don't think it's very pronounced. And what the Chinese Communist Party has done is they basically built a moat around China and prevented any international speculators from coming in. That's not unique to China, though. That's true across Asia. So famously, the Asian tigers. So you're talking about like Taiwan, Singapore, Korea. They basically told the IMF, and gee, who's the International Monetary Fund and what did they want to do? Well, they wrote a prescription for development that we've talked about before on this program that largely took place in Africa and Latin America, where they said, liberalize your currency, privatize all your industry. And we know the rest of the story. Global corporations came in and harvested these countries for parts. Well, the Asian tigers said no to the IMF, and they basically nationalized everything. And the result of that was that they grew more effectively than any other countries in the developing world. China has done something very similar. I also know that the Japanese, and I think the Koreans too, but I'm certain the Japanese have passed certain laws restricting hedge funds from getting access to Japanese assets. Gee, I wonder why they would do that.
And also the Japanese, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what's going on with their, look at this. What is that? Got the little cube on their head and a big nose?
Yep.
The Tengu. Yeah, I think we all know who the Tengu really are.
I love the Japanese.
Yeah, you went there, didn't you?
I did when I was pregnant with Annalise, and now she just houses sushi. I like to think that it's from her in utero. Yeah.
Nice. I like sushi a lot. Let's see here. Robert sent $25. Dave, I have mixed feelings about the Elton John shades. Bro is gay.
I'm kind of into it. I like it.
Married a dude and adopted pet boy's gay. Like wrote tons of songs about loving men, ass gay. Like diagnosed with prostate cancer and still bangs a dude gay. Cameron, thoughts?
I think I think that comment might be aspirational, Dave. So maybe there's some optimism.
I was gonna say maybe we can get the chat to help out. We've got the 99.9% blue blocking glasses. Okay, that's number one. Then we've got the 80% blue blocking orange glasses.
I don't know. Elton John doesn't own colored glasses.
Then I have the 60% yellow original blue blocking
So
glasses.
a wise man once told me that if you're going to be a tool, be a Black and Decker. So I would put on the Elton John the Elton John shades. Go all the way.
Yeah,
Don't
like him.
flirt with the line.
Yeah.
Dave. Go all the way, brother.
I like him. I think they give me like a superpower of.
They give you an edge, man. They give you a little bit of an edge. Like, you're somewhat of a bad boy. Like you might just walk off the set at any given time.
Yeah.
I might. You never know.
Please don't do this to me. I need stability to flourish.
This show is over with. It's done. I quit. No, I'm kidding.
I'm like a
It is
flower,
funny
Dave.
for those of you watching, listening, because Rebecca and Dave, they work in many ways because they are the complete opposite. Rebecca needs an outline. She wants to feel prepped. We usually we serenade her with an NSYNC song before we start the show. Whereas Dave doesn't do any prep. He comes in raw. I'm exaggerating slightly, but he comes in raw and he just brings it.
That's true. The other day he came downstairs. I was sitting down here with his wife. He came downstairs with no shirt on, and then he goes, "Don't look at me."
You might go blind. I don't know. I'm a little pale. I've been trying to get some more sun, but
that
it
vitamin
is
D
blinding. FBA Groiper sent $5. Question for you three: which is the better Michael Jackson album, Off the Wall or Thriller?
Thriller.
Oh yeah,
Thriller. Obviously.
What kind of question is that?
Yep. So, yeah, Michael Jackson, innocent, by the way.
Yeah,
he was
probably.
innocent. I wrote an article for Vince James's website a long time ago, The Secret Connection Between Hitler and Ye, and it was all about Michael Jackson.
What is your life?
Nerdy as fuck. But anyway, very good article. Maybe one of these days I'll repost it or something like that. I mean, it's a banger. It took me 3 days to write. Harry Ludwig, right? That's not code for anything. That's not like a fake.
No, that's fine.
That's just Harry Ludwig. Sent $5. Address Nostra Aetate and Vatican II's concession that Jews and Muslims worship the same God as Roman Catholics. Well, we can get into that. I think maybe we will bring on a guest. I don't know.
I'm handing over the reins for August for the Monday show to Dave because we are alternating months with guests.
It's fine.
I'd like everybody to take a moment to look over the last 3 weeks of guests and our upcoming guest, Phil Turney, and look at how well everything went. It was just great.
Dr. Jack Cruz's episode is the #1 most listened to episode on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And
it's my nightmare.
Just saying.
Ugh.
Anyway, so I think we might be trying to get somebody on for that. I don't want to say who yet, but we do have some great guests coming up next month. We've got Pine Sap, Connor, who's going to be coming on.
Approved.
Approved. And then, hold on. I should just pull up the calendar so that I can not make a mistake here. So on the 4th, we've got Pine Sap. On the 11th, we've got Marcel Dumas.
Oh, cool. Also approved.
Black Eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going to be great. Audience is going to love him. And then we're currently negotiating with Joel Webben, the pastor at, I forget the name of his church. Doesn't matter. Really interesting guy. And then we've got one more open spot that I am working on.
That he's going to fill with the world's most annoying, offensive person.
It's going to be great. Super chats are going to go through the roof. But anyway, as far as Nostra Aetate is concerned, there is an article from Look Magazine. If you go back in the archive and you find the episode that we did filling in for Stu Peters, it was from Look Magazine called How the Jews Changed Catholic Thinking. I think I actually posted it on Twitter recently. Just give me a second. Give me a split second here.
We've been giving you a lot of seconds today, Dave.
Well, I want thirds and fourths then. Seconds, thirds, fourths. Aha, yes, here it is. Actually, I think, yes. This is the article, How the Jews Changed Catholic Thinking, from January 25th, 1966. How the Jews Changed Catholic Thinking. And this was basically about how the American Jewish Committee and the Anti-Defamation League, through operatives, were trying to get Cardinal Bea to completely repudiate anti-Semitism and the idea that the Jews killed Jesus Christ and all this stuff. Their effort was thwarted in part, but yes, in Lumen Gentium and other documents of Vatican II, it talks about how the Muslims together with us adore and worship the one merciful God, which is, I would argue that that's bogus, that we don't worship the same God. They say that the Trinity is excremental, an excremental idea. The Jews, of course, believe that Jesus Christ is burning in hell in excrement and say the most awful things about his holy mother. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that we don't worship the same God. I think that Nostra Aetate is incredibly problematic, and it should be repealed. It should be, made void because it's a problem. So anyway, but at the same time, there's different ways of reading it, right? And this is the case with most of Vatican II. You can read it with a liberal lens, and it becomes the worst, most god-awful document you've ever read in your life. Then if you read it through the eyes and the lens of tradition, it's, acceptable for the most part. So to be determined by a future pope, maybe Pope Leo will have something to say about this. Really? Are we all caught up on power chats? That feels like not enough. Because it wasn't. We got a bunch more. Holy macaroni. Okay, there we go. Anonymous sent $5. I'm Protestant. My wife is a Reformed Wiccan. Ugh. We've got 3 white kids, but don't associate with gays, Jews, non-whites, or leftists if we can help it. We both believe that you don't seem to have any intention of leading. Action and initiative wins.
That sounds fine to me.
Who's you? We're both believe that you don't seem to have any intention of leading. Action and initiative wins. Okay.
I don't know if this
she's
is
a
supposed
woman.
To, yeah, I would
Is this
never.
directed at
I
somebody?
would never.
Women can't lead.
No.
Cameron, you want to lead?
I think that the sentiment of the comment is correct, but action is expressed differently, right? Just by virtue of having a show and discussing these issues, that's a demonstration of action.
Yep.
You, by virtue of forming a local group, that's an action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because somebody gets on TV, stands on a podium, and gives a speech, that's a form of action, I suppose. But we could quibble about how effective one is versus the other. So I think the sentiment's correct, but think carefully about what action means to you and then take it accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, be a leader for your wife, be a leader for your kids. I don't advertise 90% of the stuff that I do, because if I did, we've got all these hate watchers that they hate me so much that they watch and hang on every word that I say. So I'm not going to tell them what I'm doing locally. It'll be a mystery to them. But yeah, I mean, don't sit back.
Remember what Solzhenitsyn said, right? The simple step of the courageous individual is not to participate in the lie. So, as we've talked about before, just tell the truth. And you saw that in the video that we played earlier with some, leftist nitwit, purple-haired freak, whatever. Stand up to these people. Stand up for yourself. And don't. I think the most powerful weapon that has been used against us, and we've talked about this on the program before, is not propaganda. It's not the ADL. It may not even be, sort of these obscure or subterranean assassinations. All of that is scary. It is. But I think the most powerful weapon that's been used against us is shame. It's shame. It makes people feel bad for having the positions or thinking the things that they do. Don't give them that satisfaction. Deny them that, and that gives you power.
Yeah.
Right? Shift the power dynamic in that respect. And the way that you do that is by telling the truth, and you do so unapologetically. And you do so with panache, with a flagrant sense of disregard for the box that they try to put you in.
Yeah. These Jews, these Zionists will try to shame you for talking and saying the word Jew as if it's like a bad word. They will try to browbeat you for saying things like, oh, the Jews killed Christ. Meanwhile, they're doing this to people.
Yeah.
They're doing this to children.
Oh, stop making me look at this picture.
It's powerful. Yeah. I mean, this is the truth. This is what they're doing. These people should have no right to shame us for speaking or any of that. So don't give them that.
We don't have shame anymore. They shouldn't have worn us down so much over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be effective.
Nemi B sent $5. Live in West Virginia. Was out on a very rural part of the state for work, needed gas, went to a gas station I know of, walked in and I'm greeted by 2 Jeets. It was whites last time. Dear God, help us, SOS. Yeah, man.
Where was that? Where did he say?
West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. And, they practice an ethnic nepotism that is on par with Jewish ethnic nepotism.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. And we need to reclaim the gas stations.
Yeah, really.
Thunderstorm 9 sent $10 on Rumble. Either you are pro-European people or not. Beware of anything else.
Yeah, totally. I'm in.
Book track
Yeah,
grooves.
and just real quick before we move on, that's the sort of simplicity that we need, right? We don't need to get into these irrelevant internecine squabbles about esoteric debates, philosophical issues that people love to just drum on and on and on about. We need to keep things very simple. Look, these countries have been taken over. Our numbers, our demography is threatened, and we need to reset the balance. It's just that simple.
Amen. It's very, very simple. Book track grooves sent $10 on Rumble. Any news on livestock? 1-to-1 Bitcoin segment and livestock segment. Rally. Buy land and livestock. Our group are afraid to deal with their mayor's neighbors. It's a numbers game.
Animal husbandry is a very white thing.
True. It's very important.
It is very important.
I get a friend of mine raises cattle. And so,
Really?
I get my beef from her. Buy a half a cow at a time.
I understand what that's like because I have a cat. I'm just joking.
WTF,
I'm not in the
man.
game of like cleaning up large poops, although I do have a Great Pyrenees too.
There is a really interesting, there was something that down at HeteroFest, there was a guy with a stand down there and he was doing something interesting with livestock where basically like you would buy shares of a cow and they would keep the cow alive and then you would go cash in and then kill it or something. I don't know how
I
it
don't want to
worked,
be that
but-
close to the process. One time I picked out a piglet for slaughter.
Ugh.
And I think I just got like a little too close emotionally,
Don't do that. Yeah.
But they were disgusting.
They're smart.
Yeah, but he also told me that if you fall down in their pen, they'll just run over
eat
you
you.
and they'll eat you. And I was like,
Yes.
oh, well, I'll have that pig then.
Nice.
They weren't cute.
Anonymous sent $10. Thank you.
Thanks.
And Anonymous sent $10.
That could
Thanks
be two
again.
different people.
That could be two different people. We don't know. Reinhardt sent $100.
Hey.
Thank you very much, big guy. It's been long enough to officially say baby number 6 is well on the way.
I already knew that.
Love you guys and pray for a healthy baby boy. Smiley face, lightning emoji, bicep emoji, hand emoji.
They
raised
also
hand emoji.
have twins.
Oh, yeah?
In the family, so they have
Ooh,
fraternal
you could
boys.
you could be getting a 2-for-1 special.
Yes. So yeah. Oh, they already did an ultrasound, so they know it's not twins.
Oh, okay.
What am I saying? Of course, you would know if it was twins. Anyway, congratulations, Reinhardt. I'm so happy. I hope you
That's
guys
awesome.
get to 12.
They're halfway there.
They're just the best family.
How many do you have, Dave?
3.
And you plan to have 12, right?
9. Well, I'm not planning to have any. We're
Your wife
Catholic.
is up.
We
She's
don't-
going to start throwing stuff soon.
Probably. I mean, we don't do the family planning nonsense of like, oh, well, we had one and that's enough for us. We're going to have as many kids as God sends us. I think it'd be cool to like, hit 6, hit 9, but it's about, I mean, if she's having kids into her 50s, then I'm going to have 12. You know what I mean? It's going to be whatever.
It's in God's hands.
Amen. Order of Titus sent $30. W show. So many strong Christians do not want to step into the political realm in 2025, but this is what America needs. So true.
Thank you so much.
We need people to step up for the truth. Book Track Groove sent $10. I do have a song about the 7-Year War and the fall of the Swiss Guard during the French Revolution. There's a difference between revolution and rebellion against an ungodly government. Very true. And I was going to say, Rebecca, fuck the French Revolution.
Yeah.
You know my family's history with that, right?
No.
What?
Uh-uh.
You don't know?
I don't think so.
My family smuggled priests into France from Germany and sent them on a clandestine circuit.
Oh,
and would
nice.
have like secret masses in their barn. They were
What a dangerous thing.
dairy farmers, and they got caught. And
Was everyone killed?
Almost. I mean, I wouldn't be here if they were. But yeah, so one of the townspeople ratted out the family to the Revolutionary Army, and they came by with a detachment and burned down the barn, searched the house, burned down the house, and it was my great whatever grandmother and father. They had 9 kids, 8 or 9 kids, and they lined them all up and bound them, and were threatening them to tell where the priest was. And then, as they were searching the rest of the property while the house was burning down, one of the guards shoved his bayonet into a pile of wood, and that's where the priest was.
Oh my God.
He screamed, and so they pulled him out and executed him on the spot, and then condemned my family to the guillotine. And so they put them on a caravan to Paris to kill them. And word got out that they had been arrested and were condemned to die. And a young man that my family had housed several years earlier had become a general in the Revolutionary Army. And he had promised my great whatever grandfather that if there was ever anything he could do for him, that he would take care of him. And so he rode out with a detachment from Paris and met the caravan. And at night on the first evening, he sent 2 guards into the woods, and they shot up in the sky, which woke everybody up. And so he got up and said, we're being ambushed. Everybody, to arms, and sent them all out in the woods. And while all the soldiers were in the woods looking for nobody, this guy unbound my great-grandmother and father and all their kids.
All 9 survived.
Gave them the cart or whatever and the horse, and they escaped into Germany.
What a harrowing story. I bet you hate Freemasons. Then.
I fucking hate them. And so that was the Ramspacher family, and then they married into the Shad family, and then they came to America and married the Rileys.
Wow.
And so that's where I come from.
Well, I'll stop dumping on your great tradition.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to, you got to drill deeper than, I'm white. You got to know what your grandfather and grandmother were doing for work. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Know your family history. It's really worthwhile to get into that kind of stuff.
Yes, I'm descended of Scottish royalty.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a king nobody knows anything about. William the Lion.
Wait, I know about William the Lion.
Really?
Don't I?
There's hardly anything written about him historically.
Oh,
he was
lying.
ousted unceremoniously by his
You're
uncle.
thinking Richard the Lionheart.
Yes, you're right. Okie dokie. Over on Entropy, you can still get last minute super chats in. Over on Entropy, we've got Soaker City. Dang it, every time it stops working. Soaker City sent $10. If you unveil Jewish power to people, those people will then make the much easier trip to recognizing Jewish religiously ordained supremacy. This is actually much worse than racial supremacy. It allows more cruelty with much less rationality. Early life check is a huge deal. Think they will hide it? The early life check? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm amazed they haven't yet.
They've done all kinds of dirty work on Wikipedia, especially, I remember this back in like 18 and 19 when people were first kind of like really figuring this stuff out. They would go in and edit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so you have to check the history of the edits of the page to be fully sure. Gorilla Hands sent $25. Hey guys, just wanted to donate to one of my favorite podcasts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Unreconstructed Yeoman sent $5. I got my cow fat soap, which is awesome, unlike Bitcoin, which is fake and gay. Well, thank you very much. I'm so happy that you're enjoying the soap. Raven Resolve sent $50.
Thank you so much.
Banger monologue, Rebecca. Cameron is right about IRL communities. Arvol's return to the land is my favorite attempt at creating community so far because as diversity increases, demand for voluntary segregation will increase, feeding a growing and organized renaissance.
Yep.
Buy silver and gold and let's build white communities after hyperinflation.
I love it.
And you can do that at atlasbullion.com. Only 4 hours and
3 hours.
3 hours and 25 minutes and 17 seconds to get some gold and silver on sale over there. Calidria sent $5. Howdy, Rebecca. A lot of these questions have been thoroughly addressed with philosophers like Carl Schmitt, but one book I highly recommend that talks about this is Which Way, Western Man?
Cameron, didn't you tell me to buy that?
That book sounds familiar. Let me see. Which Way, Western Man?
William Gailey Simpson.
I haven't read that one.
Carl Schmitt. I think he got name dropped in the Jubilee thing.
Yes, he did.
Very recently.
He did. Well, they all hate Schmitt.
Of course they do.
Affiliations. His book is worth reading, though. It's called The Theory. I think it's called the Concept of the Political.
Okay, there are some super chats on Rumble that did not forward through my API. Booktrack Grooves, $10. Rebecca, is there any news on Oregon State? A second Montana town has adopted the pride flag as its city flag in an effort to circumvent a state law passed this last session.
I have no idea. Do you know anything about this?
I do. I don't know about Oregon, but I do know that we covered this on this show, actually. You might have been on vacation that week.
Oh.
Vince and I did a big segment on how Boise's mayor Like
I was out for that, yeah.
We passed a law. Thank you to Lynn Oh, I'm not even on the camera. What am I doing here? Thank you to Lynn Bradescu, by the way, big time Republican. She's Jewish, but she's been very staunch in this anti-LGBT fight. So got to give props where they're due.
Whatever, she's got an angle.
Lynn Bradescu got this resolution passed, and it went all the way to the legislature. It became law, basically saying that you can't fly pride flags on public property.
Oh yeah, Missy told me about this.
And so then they like changed the Boise City ordinance to make the pride flag an official city flag, and they've kept that up. Montana followed suit. And so, yeah, we got to get some people that are going to lay down the law over in Montana. What else do we got going on over here? Live in West Virginia. We got that one. Got that one. Yep. Okay, we are all caught up on Rumble rants. Let me just check the
And we got Entropy too.
the other one, Crypto Super Chat. Oh, look at that. We got one today.
Would you look at
on
that?
the Crypto Super Chat app. Thank you very much, Anonymous, for donating $7.77 in Bitcoin. I don't love shitcoins, but I love making easy money off of them. Here's some Bitcoin so that maybe instead of returning to the land, we can at least get Blonde to return to the kitchen.
Oh.
Thank you so much. And yes, please, at any time, if you decide you want, you can do it when we're not even on the air. You can go to thebacklash.net, support the show, click the super chat button, and boom, you get our little, this goes directly to our wallet. No middleman, nobody can turn it off.
I would love to spend more time in the kitchen.
Ooh.
I spend a lot of time in our kitchen.
You make a pretty mean carbonara, don't you?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
What I'm talking about.
And I made you guys those cabbage rolls. You've eaten my cooking a few
Hell
times.
yeah, you're a great cook.
Thank you.
Not as good as my wife. I am legally
You got to say
obligated
that.
to
Yeah.
say.
That is true, though. Your wife is a
She's
gourmet.
She's a fantastic
She's a
cook.
fine chef.
Barefoot and not quite pregnant yet in the kitchen. Okay, we are all caught up.
She's looking at us.
Oh, dear Lord. Yeah, she's like, wrap it up, Dave.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. That was a great show. We really appreciate it. Check out all of our links on thebacklash.net, and we will see you on Monday with Mr. Phil Turney. Thank you. Bye-bye.